What if the life you truly want isn't something you chase, but something you build, one clear decision at a time? In a world that constantly tells you to do more, be more, and have more, it's easy to lose sight of what actually matters. But there's an ancient path, quiet, grounded, and powerful, that can guide you back to what's real. Welcome to How to Use Stoicism to Build the Life You Truly Want. For over 2,000 years, Stoicism has helped people find purpose, clarity, and strength by focusing on what they can control and letting go of everything else. This isn't about wishful thinking or toxic positivity. It's about living intentionally, taking ownership of your choices, and creating a life built on wisdom, courage, discipline, and justice. In this full guide, you'll learn how to apply Stoic principles to your everyday decisions, break free from distractions and fear, and move steadily toward a life that aligns with your values. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You can start building that life right now. Let's begin. Have you ever experienced the jarring shift from being completely engaged with someone to suddenly feeling like you don't exist? One day they're talking, laughing, making plans with you, and the next day there's nothing, no calls, no replies, just an uncomfortable silence that seems to stretch endlessly. This phenomenon is more common than you might think, and understanding it can fundamentally change how you navigate relationships and protect your emotional well-being. When someone starts ignoring you, it's rarely a coincidence. It's a deliberate choice, even if they won't explain it or confront you directly about what's changed. Instead, they simply disappear, leaving you to wonder what went wrong, what you might have done, or how you could fix something you don't even understand. This behavior can feel deeply personal, but the truth is often far more complex and revealing about the other person than it is about you. People vanish from our lives for various reasons, and not all of them are what they seem on the surface. Some individuals distance themselves because they no longer need anything from you. Their interaction was transactional from the beginning, and once the transaction is complete, so is their interest. Others pull away because your growth and progress make them uncomfortable, forcing them to confront their own stagnation or lack of ambition. Still others were never genuinely invested in the relationship to begin with. They were merely passing through your life, taking what they could while offering little in return. The real power in these situations doesn't lie in chasing after explanations or begging for clarity. Instead, it comes from understanding why this behavior occurs and refusing to take it personally. When you can step back and see these patterns for what they truly are, you gain a kind of freedom that protects you from future disappointment and helps you identify the people who are genuinely worth your time and energy. Consider the story of Ethan, a man who embodied everything we typically associate with being a good friend. He was friendly, reliable, and always ready to help others when they needed him. For years, Ethan was the person everyone wanted to be around, the one people turned to when they needed support or simply wanted good company. But one day, something shifted in a way that left him confused and hurt. His messages began going unanswered. Friends who had once sought him out regularly grew distant and seemingly uninterested in maintaining contact. Conversations that used to flow naturally and warmly now felt forced and cold, if they happened at all. At first, Ethan rationalized the change. Maybe everyone was just busy. Maybe it was a temporary phase that would pass once life settled down for his friends. But deep inside, a nagging question haunted him. Why were they ignoring him? Frustrated and seeking answers, Ethan decided to visit his old mentor, Mr. Harris, a retired psychologist known throughout their community for his wisdom and insight into human behavior. When Ethan arrived at Mr. Harris's home, he was clearly troubled, his usual confident demeanor replaced by uncertainty and self-doubt. "Sir?" Ethan sighed heavily as he settled into the familiar chair across from his mentor. "I don't understand what's happening. People who once valued me, who seemed to genuinely care about our friendship, now act like I don't exist. What did I do wrong? How did I mess this up?" Mr. Harris listened carefully, then smiled with the kind of knowing expression that comes from years of observing human nature. Without saying a word, he reached into a drawer and pulled out a simple candle and a matchstick, placing both items on the table between them. "Light this candle," he said simply, pushing the items toward Ethan. Confused but trusting his mentor's methods, Ethan struck the match and carefully lit the candle. Soon, a steady flame flickered in the dim room, casting dancing shadows on the walls around them. The warm light seemed to create an intimate atmosphere perfect for deep conversation. "Now," Mr. Harris continued, "bring it close to this open window." Ethan did as he was told, carrying the lit candle toward the window where a gentle breeze was flowing into the room. Within seconds, a gust of wind caught the flame and blew it out completely, leaving them in relative darkness once again. Mr. Harris leaned back in his chair with a satisfied expression. "That, my boy, is why people ignore you." Ethan frowned, still not understanding the connection between the extinguished candle and his social situation. "I don't understand what you're trying to tell me." Mr. Harris chuckled softly, the sound filled with both amusement and compassion. "A small flame only stays lit when it's protected from the wind. But when a flame burns too bright, when it grows strong and confident, it actually invites the wind to try to extinguish it." As the words sank in, Ethan sat in contemplative silence, feeling the weight of realization settling over him. The metaphor was beginning to make sense, and with it came an understanding that would change how he viewed his relationships forever. "People don't always ignore you because they dislike you," Mr. Harris explained gently. "Sometimes they ignore you because your growth makes them uncomfortable. You were once on their level, predictable, familiar, perhaps even struggling with some of the same challenges they face. But when you evolve, when you improve yourself or outgrow the limitations that once defined your peer group, they start feeling small in your presence. Instead of being inspired by your progress or motivated to grow alongside you, they choose the easier path. They distance themselves. That night, Ethan made a decision that would fundamentally alter his approach to relationships and personal growth. He decided to stop chasing explanations from people who had chosen to pull away. He stopped shrinking himself to fit into spaces where he was no longer welcome. Most importantly, he stopped feeling guilty or ashamed for outgrowing people who had chosen to remain static in their personal development. In making this choice, Ethan discovered something profound. He found peace in being ignored. He realized that he wasn't being rejected in the traditional sense. He was simply rising to a level that made others uncomfortable. Like the candle flame that burns too bright and attracts the wind, his personal growth had made him a target for those who preferred the safety and predictability of remaining unchanged. This understanding represents a fundamental truth about human relationships. People don't always ignore you because you've done something wrong. Often they ignore you because your growth serves as an uncomfortable reminder of their own stagnation. A candle that burns too bright will always make the wind restless, but that doesn't mean the candle should dim its light. Instead, It should continue burning brightly, regardless of how others react to its illumination. One of the most manipulative tactics that people employ in relationships is the strategic use of silence as a test. This behavior often manifests as a sudden shift from engagement to complete radio silence, designed specifically to gauge your reaction and determine how much control they have over your emotions and behavior. Consider how this typically unfolds. One day, everything seems perfectly normal between you and another person. You're communicating regularly, making plans, sharing experiences, and maintaining what appears to be a healthy, reciprocal relationship. Then, without warning, they become completely unresponsive. No replies to your messages, no returned phone calls, no acknowledgement of your attempts to maintain contact. The silence feels deliberate and pointed, designed to make you notice and react. This sudden withdrawal isn't always about losing interest or having a legitimate reason for stepping back. Instead, it's often a calculated test designed to see how you'll respond to their absence. They want to know how much you care, how much effort you're willing to put in to maintain the connection, and most importantly, how much control they have over your emotional state. If you respond by sending multiple messages, over-explaining your previous interactions, or repeatedly asking what's wrong, you've just given them exactly what they were looking for, proof that their absence affects you significantly. This dynamic creates a power imbalance similar to a tug-of-war game. When they drop their end of the rope by ignoring you, they're waiting to see if you'll pull harder by chasing after them with increased effort and attention. However, if you refuse to engage in this game, if you don't pick up the slack they've created, the game effectively ends, and with it, their control over the situation. The Stoic philosophy offers valuable insight into handling these situations. The principle that he who needs least from others is the most powerful applies directly to these testing scenarios. Real strength doesn't come from proving how much you care or how willing you are to fight for someone's attention. Instead, it comes from not needing external validation to feel secure in your own worth and relationships. When you stop chasing, stop over-explaining your actions, and stop trying to prove your value to someone who is testing you, you become essentially untouchable. You demonstrate that your sense of self-worth isn't dependent on their approval or attention, which fundamentally shifts the power dynamic in your favor. Many people have experienced this pattern firsthand. Perhaps you've noticed that when you pull back slightly, when you get busy with your own goals and focus on your personal priorities, certain people in your life suddenly become cold and distant. At first glance, this might seem like they're genuinely busy or dealing with their own challenges. However, if you pay attention to the pattern, you might discover that this behavior is actually a test designed to see if you'll abandon your own priorities to chase after their attention. The most effective way to handle this situation is often counterintuitive. You give them nothing. No extra messages asking if they're okay. No attempts to analyze what might have gone wrong. No efforts to prove that you care about the relationship. Just silence in return. Often, this non-response reveals the true nature of their behavior. If they were genuinely testing you, they'll likely return within a few days, suddenly interested and engaging again, acting as if nothing happened. This experience can be eye-opening because it demonstrates that the withdrawal wasn't about them being busy or upset. It was about maintaining control over your behavior and emotional state. When you refuse to play their game, they lose the upper hand they were trying to establish. To effectively handle people who use ignoring as a manipulation tactic, you need to first recognize the pattern. If someone repeatedly pulls away and expects you to chase them, it's not an accident or a coincidence, it's a deliberate strategy. Second, resist the urge to take the bait. When they ignore you to get a reaction, give them nothing in return. Finally, remember your own worth and the fact that healthy relationships shouldn't require you to prove your care through desperate pursuit. At the end of the day, attention and engagement in relationships should be mutual, not something that needs to be tested or earned through manipulation. If someone is playing games with your emotions, let them continue playing, but don't participate. The right people won't need to manipulate you into proving that you care. They'll already understand your value and reciprocate your energy naturally. Another common reason people suddenly start ignoring you relates to the transactional nature of many relationships. This realization can be particularly painful because it forces you to confront the fact that some people were never really there for you as a person. They were there for what you could provide them. This dynamic often manifests gradually, making it difficult to recognize until the pattern becomes undeniable. Perhaps someone in your life always seems warm and engaging, reaching out regularly and maintaining what appears to be a genuine friendship. However, if you look closely at your interactions, you might notice that every conversation centers around something they need. Advice about a personal situation, emotional support during difficult times, professional connections, financial assistance, or even just the ego boost that comes from having someone listen to their problems. These relationships function like a power outlet, where people plug in to charge themselves emotionally, professionally, or socially. As long as they're receiving the energy, support, or resources they need, they remain connected and engaged. But the moment they're fully charged, or when they find a better source of what they need, they unplug and disappear from your life, often without warning or explanation. The disappearance of these individuals isn't necessarily malicious, but it is revealing. They never valued you as a complete person with your own needs, interests, and worth. Instead, they saw you as a resource to be utilized when convenient and abandoned when no longer necessary. This is why their departure often feels so sudden and confusing. There was no real relationship to gradually deteriorate, only a transaction that had reached its conclusion. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this dynamic well when he advised people to attach yourself to what is true, not to those who are temporary. This wisdom encourages us to stop tying our sense of self-worth to people who are only passing through our lives for their own benefit. The right people, those who genuinely value you, won't disappear when they no longer need something specific from you. They stay because they appreciate you as a complete person, not just as a provider of services or support. Recognizing these transactional relationships can be painful, but ultimately liberating. When you understand that someone's presence in your life was conditional upon what you could offer them, their absence becomes less of a personal rejection and more of a clear indication of their character and priorities. Many people have experienced this type of relationship without initially recognizing its true nature. You might remember someone who seemed genuinely interested in your friendship, always reaching out and maintaining regular contact. However, looking back with clearer perspective, you might realize that every interaction followed a similar pattern. They needed something, and you provided it. When you decided to step back, not necessarily in a confrontational way, but simply to see if they would reach out without needing something, they vanished completely. This experience, while initially disappointing, actually provides valuable information about the relationship's foundation. It reveals that the connection was built on utility rather than mutual respect and affection. Once the utility was removed, there was nothing substantial left to maintain the bond. To handle people who only maintain relationships for their own benefit, start by recognizing the signs. If someone consistently only reaches out when they need something, pay attention to that pattern. Second, stop chasing people who disappear when you stop providing for them. Their absence is actually doing you a favor by revealing their true intentions. Finally, invest your time and energy in building genuine connections based on mutual respect and care rather than one-sided transactions. The most important thing to remember is that some people will leave your life when they no longer benefit from you. And this departure isn't something to take personally. Instead, it should be viewed as a lesson about the difference between genuine relationships and transactional interactions. The people who stay, those who value you regardless of what you can provide, are the ones who were meant to be part of your journey. External influence represents another significant factor in why people suddenly start ignoring or distancing themselves from you. This situation can be particularly frustrating because it involves a fundamental shift in how someone perceives you, often based not on their own direct experience, but on information or opinions they've received from others. The scenario typically unfolds like this. Someone who has been warm and friendly toward you suddenly becomes cold, distant, and uninterested in maintaining your relationship. There's been no argument between you, no obvious conflict or misunderstanding that would explain the change in their behavior. Instead, their shift in attitude seems to come from nowhere, leaving you confused and wondering what you might have done wrong. The truth is often that a weak-minded person has been turned against you through gossip, rumors, or external influence. Rather than forming their own opinions based on their direct interactions with you, they've allowed others to think for them. Instead of approaching you directly to seek clarity about whatever they've heard, they choose to listen to whispers and outside judgments, letting these external voices shape their perception of who you are. This dynamic reveals something important about human nature and the strength of different individuals' character. Some people are like strong trees with deep roots. No matter how hard the wind blows, they remain firmly planted and unchanging. Others are like leaves in that same wind, easily carried in whatever direction external forces push them. People who are easily influenced lack a solid foundation of their own judgment and critical thinking, making them susceptible to manipulation by anyone willing to plant seeds of doubt or spread negative information. The Stoic philosophy offers insight into this phenomenon through the understanding that a mind that can be easily swayed was never truly yours to begin with. People with genuine integrity and strong moral character seek truth rather than simply accepting rumors or second-hand information. They understand the importance of getting multiple perspectives and making their own informed judgments rather than blindly accepting what others tell them. If someone can be convinced to turn against you without questioning the source of their information or seeking your side of the story, they were never truly reliable or loyal to begin with. Their willingness to believe negative things about you without verification reveals more about their character than it does about whatever they think you've done wrong. Many people have experienced this type of situation, where a close friend or acquaintance suddenly becomes distant without any clear explanation. Later, you might discover through other sources that they had been told something false or misleading about you. The natural impulse in these situations is often to chase after the person, explain yourself, and try to correct whatever misunderstanding has occurred. However, there's another approach that can be more revealing and ultimately more protective of your own well-being. Let them show their true nature. Instead of defending yourself to someone who has already made up their mind based on second-hand information, you can choose to step back and observe how they handle the situation. Do they eventually seek out your perspective? Do they question the source of the negative information they received? Or do they simply accept what they've been told and move on? This approach often provides valuable information about the person's character and the true nature of your relationship with them. If months later they reach out realizing that the person who fed them lies had done the same thing to others, you'll have learned something important about their judgment and loyalty. However, by that point, you may have already moved on and built stronger relationships with people who demonstrate better discernment and character. To handle situations where people are influenced against you by others, remember several key principles. First, don't waste your energy defending yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. If they don't value the truth enough to seek your perspective directly, they don't deserve a detailed explanation of your side of the story. Second, let people reveal their loyalty naturally. A real friend won't let gossip dictate their perception of you without at least giving you a chance to respond. Finally, be grateful when these situations occur, because anyone who is weak enough to be swayed by rumors was never a solid, reliable part of your life to begin with. At the end of the day, you don't actually lose real people in these situations. You just lose illusions about people you thought you knew. Let the weak-minded drift away and focus your energy on surrounding yourself with individuals who think for themselves and value truth over gossip. Personal growth and boundary setting often trigger unexpected responses from people in your life, particularly those who have grown accustomed to influencing or controlling your behavior. When you stop tolerating manipulation, guilt trips, or other forms of emotional control, some people will begin to pull away, not because you've done anything wrong, but because they've lost their ability to dictate how you think, act, or respond to situations. This phenomenon can be initially confusing because it might seem like your positive changes are driving people away. Someone who was once close to you suddenly becomes distant, stops reaching out, stops including you in activities, and may even act cold or dismissive when you do interact. The timing of this change often coincides with your own personal development. Perhaps you've started setting healthier boundaries, stopped tolerating disrespectful behavior, or begun making decisions based on your own values rather than trying to please everyone around you. The truth is that when you stop playing by their rules, certain people lose their grip on you. Some individuals only maintain relationships as long as they can maintain a certain level of control or influence over the other person. They might use subtle manipulation tactics like guilt trips, emotional blackmail, or criticism disguised as concern to keep you behaving in ways that serve their interests rather than your own. The moment you stop tolerating these behaviors, when you stop explaining yourself excessively, stop allowing others to make you feel guilty for having boundaries, or stop changing your behavior to avoid their disapproval, they begin to lose interest in the relationship. This isn't because you've become a worse friend or a less valuable person. It's because they never valued you as an equal in the first place. They only valued their ability to influence and control you. This dynamic can be understood through the metaphor of a puppet with cut strings. As long as the strings remain intact, the puppeteer can control every movement and make the puppet dance exactly as they wish. But when those strings are cut, the puppet no longer responds to the puppeteer's manipulation. Instead of accepting this change and finding a new way to relate to the now independent puppet, the puppeteer simply loses interest and walks away. Without the ability to control, they have no investment in the relationship. This is precisely how manipulative people operate in relationships. The moment you stop reacting the way they expect, stop allowing them to push your emotional buttons, or stop modifying your behavior to avoid their displeasure, they begin to fade away. Their departure isn't a reflection of your worth or a sign that you've made a mistake in standing up for yourself. Instead, it's a clear indication that they were never interested in you as an independent, autonomous person. They were only interested in their power over you. The Stoic philosophy recognizes this phenomenon in the principle that the price of independence is the loss of those who wanted you dependent. True independence means standing firm in your values and boundaries, even when it costs you relationships with people who preferred the old, more controllable version of yourself. People who truly respect and care about you will adjust to your new boundaries and continue to value the relationship. Those who only valued their control over you will disappear, and this departure is actually a blessing rather than a loss. Many people can relate to having someone in their life who constantly tried to control their responses to various situations. Perhaps this person would use guilt trips whenever you disagreed with them, claiming that you were being unfair or unreasonable whenever you set a boundary or expressed a different opinion. For a long time, you might have played along with this dynamic, believing that keeping the peace was more important than standing up for yourself. But eventually, you might reach a point where you decide to stop engaging in these patterns. You choose not to explain or justify your decisions excessively, not to defend your right to have boundaries, and not to modify your behavior simply to avoid someone else's displeasure. When this shift occurs, the other person's response is often to create distance rather than to adapt to the new dynamic. At first, this distance might feel like a loss. You might worry that you've damaged an important relationship or wonder if you should compromise your boundaries to restore the connection. However, with time and perspective, you often realize that what felt like a loss was actually freedom. You were freed from the exhausting cycle of having to manage someone else's emotions and reactions, freed from the need to constantly justify your choices, and freed from the pressure to shrink yourself to make someone else comfortable. To handle people who distance themselves when you stop allowing them to control you, remember several important points. First, recognize the pattern. If someone only sticks around when they can influence your behavior, it was never a genuine connection based on mutual respect. Second, stop justifying yourself to people who are upset about your boundaries. The moment you stop over-explaining and start simply acting according to your values, they lose their power to manipulate you. Finally, let them walk away if they choose to. If someone only valued you when they could control you, their absence is actually a sign that you're moving in the right direction. Not everyone will celebrate your independence and personal growth, but the people who leave because they can no longer control you were only there for the power, not for you as a person. Let them go and stand firm in who you are becoming. Perhaps one of the most challenging aspects of personal growth is discovering that your progress can make others uncomfortable to the point where they choose to distance themselves from you. This phenomenon occurs when your development serves as an uncomfortable mirror, reflecting back to others everything they could be, but aren't willing to work toward achieving. The dynamic typically begins when you start making positive changes in your life. Perhaps you begin focusing more seriously on your goals, developing new skills, changing negative thought patterns, or simply becoming more intentional about how you spend your time and energy. Initially, people in your life might seem supportive of these changes, offering encouragement and expressing excitement about your new direction. However, as you continue progressing and the changes become more substantial and visible, some people's attitudes begin to shift. They liked you better when you were on their level, when you shared the same limitations, struggled with the same challenges, or remained stuck in the same patterns that they continue to experience. Your growth forces them to confront uncomfortable questions about their own lives. Why aren't they making similar progress? What's stopping them from pursuing their own development? Are they settling for less than they could achieve? Rather than using your progress as inspiration or motivation for their own growth, some people choose to deal with their discomfort by distancing themselves from you. They might start making subtle comments about how you've changed or suggest that you're trying too hard. These comments are often disguised as concern or casual observation, but they carry an underlying message of disapproval or resentment. This situation can be understood through the metaphor of climbing a mountain with a companion. At the beginning of the journey, you're walking side by side, sharing the experience and supporting each other through the challenges. The conversation flows easily, and the journey feels collaborative and shared. However, as you begin pushing harder and climbing higher, your companion starts to slow down. They begin complaining about the difficulty of the path, suggesting that maybe you should turn back or take a break, or worse, they start resenting you for continuing to climb. Eventually, they stop climbing altogether. Instead of admitting that they've chosen to give up, or that they're not willing to put in the effort required to continue, they frame your continued progress as a personal attack on them. They say things like, "You're changing," or "You're not the same person anymore." But what they really mean is, "I can't keep up. And instead of trying harder, I'd rather stay behind and make you feel guilty for continuing." The Stoic philosophy addresses this challenge with the principle, do not shrink to make others comfortable, grow, and let them choose to keep up. Your personal development is not an attack on anyone else. It's simply a test of who is willing to rise with you and who prefers to remain where they are. Your growth reveals the true nature of your relationships and helps you identify who is genuinely supportive of your progress versus who was only comfortable with you when you remained at their level. Many people have experienced this dynamic with close friends or family members. You might remember a relationship where you and another person had always been on similar paths, sharing the same mindset, routines, and approach to life. But then something shifted. You began focusing more intensively on self-improvement, setting bigger goals, or changing fundamental aspects of how you thought about success and personal development. Initially, the other person might have seemed supportive, even enthusiastic about your new direction. However, as your progress continued and became more visible, their energy toward you began to change. They might start making jokes about your efforts, always couched in playful language but carrying a sharp edge of criticism or mockery. Comments like, "So now you think you're better than us," or "You're too busy for us regular people now," become more frequent. Eventually, these small digs evolve into more direct attempts to undermine your progress or make you feel guilty for growing. The person might start avoiding you, claiming that you've become too different or that they no longer feel comfortable around you. When confronted about the change in the relationship, they often respond with vague statements about how you've changed too much or you're trying too hard. This experience can be particularly painful when it involves someone you care about deeply. You might find yourself torn between continuing your personal growth and trying to preserve the relationship by downplaying your progress or returning to old patterns that made the other person more comfortable. However, the healthiest approach is usually to recognize that this situation reveals something important about the other person's character and your relationship with them. They weren't intimidated by your success. They were intimidated by what your success forced them to see in themselves. Rather than being inspired to grow alongside you, they chose to resent your progress and create distance to avoid confronting their own limitations. To handle people who feel intimidated by your growth, remember several key principles. First, don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. If someone can't handle your personal development, that's their issue to resolve, not yours to manage by limiting your progress. Second, pay attention to energy shifts around your success. If someone starts becoming distant or critical when you level up, they were never truly rooting for you in the first place. Finally, let them go with compassion but without compromise. Not everyone is meant to continue the journey with you, and that's okay. Real friends don't just tolerate your growth, they celebrate it and use it as inspiration for their own development. They push you to reach even higher rather than trying to pull you back down to their level. If someone chooses to step away because they can't handle your progress, let them go with gratitude for the lesson they've taught you about who truly supports your success. Sometimes people begin ignoring you not because of anything you've done to them directly, but because you've stopped tolerating dishonesty, manipulation, or other problematic behaviors that they relied on to maintain their relationships and get what they wanted from others. When you develop the ability to see through deception and refuse to enable toxic patterns, some people will disappear from your life rather than face the truth about their own behavior. This situation often develops gradually. You might begin noticing inconsistencies in someone's stories, small lies that don't seem to serve any obvious purpose, or manipulative behaviors that you previously overlooked or made excuses for. As you become more aware of these patterns and less willing to ignore them, the other person faces a choice. They can either change their behavior and interact with you honestly, or they can remove themselves from situations where their deception no longer works. Most people, when faced with this choice, opt for removal rather than reformation. It's easier for them to walk away and find new people to manipulate than it is to confront their own dishonesty and develop healthier ways of relating to others. They've built their approach to relationships around deception, half-truths, and hidden motives, and when those tactics no longer work with you, they have no backup plan for genuine interaction. This dynamic can be understood through the metaphor of turning on a light in a dark room. When you enter a room filled with shadows, things might seem acceptable until you flip the switch and illuminate the space. Suddenly, you can see the mess, the dust, the problems that were hidden in the darkness. Once you've seen the truth, you can't unsee it, and those who relied on the darkness to hide their flaws can no longer operate comfortably in your presence. The same thing happens when you develop the ability to recognize dishonesty and manipulation in relationships. The moment you shine the light of truth on someone's behavior patterns, they often become uncomfortable and choose to leave rather than address what's been revealed. They might claim that you've changed or become too critical, but what they really mean is that you've stopped allowing them to take advantage of you. The Stoic philosophy recognizes this phenomenon in the principle that the truth offends only those living a lie. A person who is honest, accountable, and genuine has nothing to fear from scrutiny or direct questions. They welcome clarity and openness because they have nothing to hide. However, those who have built their relationships on deception will hate the light of truth because it exposes the foundation of lies they've been operating from. Many people have experienced relationships with individuals who consistently played the victim role in every conflict or problem they encountered. These people have a pattern of never taking responsibility for their own actions or contributions to problems. It's always someone else's fault, always external circumstances beyond their control, always a case of them being misunderstood or mistreated by others. For a long time, you might believe these explanations and even defend the person to others, giving them the benefit of the doubt and assuming that they're just unlucky or surrounded by difficult people. However, eventually, small inconsistencies might start becoming apparent. Stories don't quite add up, details change between tellings, or you begin noticing patterns that suggest the person isn't being entirely truthful about their role in various situations. When you reach the point where you stop blindly accepting their excuses and start asking direct questions or requesting clarification about inconsistencies, their reaction is often immediate and defensive. Suddenly, you're being too harsh, over-analyzing, or you're not the same person anymore. Rather than addressing your concerns or providing honest answers, they create conflict around your right to ask questions in the first place. Eventually, these people often choose to vanish from your life, rather than continue interacting with someone who no longer accepts their version of events without question. They disappear, not because you've become unreasonable or overly critical, but because they can no longer deceive you effectively. To handle people who disappear when you stop tolerating their dishonesty, remember several important principles. First, don't regret gaining clarity about someone's true character. It may be painful to realize that someone you trusted was being deceptive, but it's better to live with truth than to continue being manipulated. Second, let them go if they choose to leave rather than address their behavior honestly. If someone disappears when they can no longer deceive you, they were never genuine in the first place. Finally, stand firm in your commitment to integrity and honesty, even when it costs you relationships with people who preferred to operate through deception. The truth doesn't destroy real relationships. It only destroys false ones built on lies and manipulation. Let those who relied on deception remove themselves from your life. You're better off without them, and their departure makes space for people who can relate to you honestly and authentically. Perhaps the most profound shift in perspective comes from recognizing that being ignored is not actually a loss. It's a filter that helps you identify who belongs in your life and who doesn't. When people suddenly stop acknowledging you, distance themselves without explanation, or simply fade away from your daily experience, it's natural to feel hurt, confused, or even rejected. However, what if this experience is actually a gift in disguise? The people who suddenly stop acknowledging your presence, or who distance themselves without explanation, are revealing something crucial about their character and their genuine investment in your relationship. They're showing you that their connection to you was conditional, superficial, or based on circumstances that are no longer present. Rather than viewing this as something to grieve or try to fix, it can be more helpful to see it as valuable information about who these people really are and what they actually meant to your life. This process functions like a garden, naturally shedding its dead leaves in preparation for new growth. Trees don't mourn the leaves that fall in autumn. They understand that this shedding is necessary to make space for new growth in the spring. The leaves that fall were meant to be temporary. Their purpose has been fulfilled, and now they must make way for what comes next. Human relationships often follow similar patterns. Some people are seasonal presences in our lives. They were never meant to be permanent fixtures. but rather temporary companions for specific phases of our journey. When they walk away or begin ignoring us, they're not rejecting our worth as individuals. They're simply revealing that their time in our lives has come to an end. This departure, rather than being a cause for sadness, actually creates space for new relationships with people who are better aligned with who we're becoming. The Stoic philosophy embraces this understanding through the principle, "Do not grieve those who walked away. Be grateful they revealed themselves." If someone can ignore your presence so easily, it demonstrates that they never truly valued it in the first place. This realization isn't a loss, it's clarity. It saves you from continuing to invest time and energy in relationships that were never as meaningful or genuine as you believed them to be. Many people have experienced relationships where they consistently put in most of the effort to maintain the connection. They might be the one who usually initiates contact, suggests getting together, remembers important dates, or checks in during difficult times. When these individuals decide to step back and see what happens, not out of spite or as a test, but simply to observe the natural flow of the relationship, they often discover something revealing. The other person doesn't step up to fill the gap. This discovery can be initially disappointing, but it provides invaluable insight into the true nature of the relationship. It reveals that what you thought was a mutual connection was actually a one-sided effort disguised as reciprocal friendship. The silence that follows your decision to stop being the primary driver of the relationship isn't rejection. It's the answer to a question you didn't even know you were asking. Would this person maintain our connection if I stopped doing all the work? When you realize that someone's presence in your life was entirely dependent on your initiative and effort, it fundamentally changes how you view both the relationship and your own value. You begin to understand that you hadn't lost a real friend. You had lost an illusion of friendship that was built on unequal investment and effort. This realization leads to a profound shift in how you approach relationships going forward. Instead of chasing people who demonstrate through their actions that they're not genuinely interested in maintaining a connection with you, you begin to focus your energy on relationships that flow more naturally. You start to appreciate the people who reach out to you without prompting, who remember important events in your life without being reminded, and who invest in the relationship without needing to be encouraged or convinced to do so. The process of recognizing these patterns can be uncomfortable, but it's ultimately liberating. When you stop trying to maintain relationships with people who have demonstrated that they won't reciprocate your effort, you create space in your life for connections that are more balanced, authentic, and mutually beneficial. You also free yourself from the exhausting cycle of constantly proving your worth to people who either don't recognize it or simply don't care. Understanding that being ignored is often a blessing in disguise requires a fundamental shift in perspective. Instead of viewing silence or distance as rejection, you can begin to see it as information. When someone chooses to ignore you or fade from your life, they're telling you something important about their character, their priorities, and their genuine interest in maintaining a relationship with you. This information, while sometimes painful to receive, is ultimately valuable because it helps you make better decisions about where to invest your time and emotional energy. The people who ignore you are essentially self-selecting out of your life, which saves you the trouble of having to figure out who is genuinely supportive and who is just going through the motions of friendship. They're doing you a favor by revealing their true nature before you invest even more deeply in relationships that were never as solid as they appeared to be. This perspective doesn't mean you should become cynical about relationships or stop investing in people altogether. Instead, it means becoming more discerning about who deserves your energy and attention. It means learning to recognize the difference between people who are genuinely interested in being part of your life and those who are only present when it's convenient or beneficial for them. The most profound aspect of this understanding is that it helps you develop a healthier relationship with solitude and independence. When you stop taking other people's lack of interest personally, you become less dependent on external validation for your sense of self-worth. You begin to understand that your value as a person isn't determined by how many people are actively engaging with you at any given moment, but rather by your own integrity, character, and the quality of the connections you do maintain. This shift in perspective also helps you become more grateful for the people who do choose to stay in your life consistently. When you understand how many people are willing to walk away when relationships require effort or when circumstances change, you develop a deeper appreciation for those who demonstrate genuine loyalty and care. These are the people who don't need to be convinced of your worth, who don't disappear when you stop initiating all the contact, and who genuinely celebrate your growth rather than feeling threatened by it. The process of learning to see being ignored as a filter rather than a rejection often involves some grief for the relationships you thought you had, but which turned out to be different than you believed. It's natural to feel disappointed when you realize that someone you cared about wasn't as invested in the relationship as you were, or that someone you trusted was more interested in what you could provide than in who you are as a person. However, this grief is temporary and ultimately healing. It represents the end of illusions that were probably costing you more energy than they were worth. When you stop trying to maintain relationships with people who have demonstrated that they're not genuinely interested, you often discover that you have more time and energy for the activities and relationships that actually nourish you. Many people find that once they stop chasing after relationships that require constant effort to maintain, they naturally attract different types of connections. When you're not constantly focused on trying to win over people who are lukewarm about your presence, you become more available for relationships with people who are genuinely excited to know you and spend time with you. This doesn't mean that good relationships don't require any effort, or that you should expect people to constantly pursue you without any reciprocation. Healthy relationships do require mutual investment, communication, and care. However, there's a significant difference between the normal effort that goes into maintaining any meaningful relationship and the exhausting work of trying to convince someone to value your presence in their life. The key is learning to recognize the difference between relationships that require normal maintenance and those that require you to constantly prove your worth. In healthy relationships, both people contribute to maintaining the connection, both people show interest in each other's lives, and both people make an effort to be present during important moments. In unhealthy relationships, one person does most of the work, while the other person shows up only when it's convenient or when they need something. When you understand this distinction, being ignored becomes less of a personal attack and more of a sorting mechanism. It helps separate the people who are genuinely interested in being part of your life from those who are only present under specific circumstances or for specific benefits. The ultimate goal isn't to become indifferent to all relationships or to stop caring when people distance themselves from you. Instead, it's to develop the wisdom to distinguish between relationships worth fighting for and those that are better left to fade naturally. It's about learning to invest your emotional energy in connections that have the potential to be genuinely meaningful and mutual, rather than wasting that energy on people who have already shown you that they're not truly interested. This understanding brings a sense of peace that can be difficult to achieve when you're constantly worried about why people are pulling away or what you can do to make them stay. When you truly internalize the idea that being ignored is often a gift that saves you from wasting time on the wrong people, you become less reactive to other people's behavior and more focused on building the kind of life that naturally attracts the right kind of relationships. The people who ignore you today are making room for the people who will celebrate you tomorrow. The relationships that require you to constantly prove your worth are making space for connections where your value is already understood and appreciated. The silence that feels uncomfortable now is actually creating the quiet space necessary for more authentic voices to reach you. In this light, being ignored isn't something to fear or try to prevent at all costs. It's something to be grateful for, because it's one of the most efficient ways to identify who belongs in your life and who doesn't. The ones who ignore you have just made your decision easier by showing you exactly who they are and how much they truly value your presence. Thank them for the clarity, and then turn your attention toward the people and opportunities that are genuinely worthy of your time and energy. The silence that once felt like rejection can become a peaceful space where you finally understand your own worth, independent of other people's approval. In that space, you can build relationships based on mutual respect, genuine care, and authentic connection, rather than on your ability to convince others to value what you have to offer. This is the true gift hidden within the experience of being ignored. The opportunity to discover what genuine relationship actually looks like and to stop settling for anything less. Imagine this. At this very moment, you hold the power to transform your life's greatest challenges into your most profound victories. This isn't merely wishful thinking or motivational rhetoric. It's a fundamental truth that has been recognized and practiced for over 2 millennia by some of history's most resilient and wise individuals. The ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers us a roadmap for navigating life's inevitable storms with grace, wisdom, and unwavering inner strength. Think about the last time you faced a situation that truly tested your patience or shook your confidence to its core. Perhaps it was a heated argument with a loved one, an unexpected setback at work, or a moment when everything seemed to be falling apart around you. In that crucial moment, how did you respond? Were you a prisoner to your immediate reactions, swept away by the tide of emotions and impulses? Or did you manage to choose a response that reflected your deeper values and convictions? This question strikes at the heart of what Stoicism offers us, the profound ability to respond to life's challenges with courage, wisdom, and equanimity, rather than being controlled by our automatic reactions. Today, we dive deep into an ancient wisdom that has empowered individuals to thrive in adversity and find serenity amidst chaos for centuries. This isn't just philosophical theory. It's a practical approach to living that can fundamentally transform how you experience and navigate the complexities of modern life. The concept we're exploring has its roots in ancient wisdom, yet remains strikingly relevant in our modern world. The art of training your mind to respond rather than react. This isn't merely about controlling your temper or keeping your cool in challenging situations, though those are certainly valuable benefits. Rather, it's about cultivating a deep-seated sense of awareness, a grounding in the present moment that allows you to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs with grace and intention. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers known for their practical approach to life, had profound insights about this fundamental distinction. They believed that while we might not have control over the events that happen to us, we do have complete control over how we interpret and respond to these events. This understanding forms the cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and offers us a path to genuine freedom and peace. Stoicism teaches us to focus our energy and attention on what's within our control, encouraging a healthy detachment from external circumstances while anchoring ourselves firmly in our own reason and choices. It's this Stoic wisdom that can inspire us to pause, reflect, and choose a course of action that is reasoned and deliberate rather than impulsive and reactive. This shift from reaction to response represents nothing less than a transformation in how we engage with life itself. But why is this distinction so important? Consider how much of our daily stress, regret, and frustration comes from knee-jerk reactions to things people say or do, to unexpected circumstances, or to situations that don't unfold as we had hoped. Now imagine if, instead of being at the mercy of these automatic responses, you could remain calm, centered, and thoughtful, even when the world around you is anything but stable. This isn't just about improving your peace of mind, though that's certainly a wonderful benefit. It's about becoming a more effective, compassionate, and resilient person, qualities that can transform not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. When we react impulsively, we often say or do things we later regret. We make decisions based on temporary emotions rather than our enduring values. We allow external circumstances to dictate our internal state, essentially giving our power away to forces beyond our control. This reactive mode of living keeps us in a constant state of stress and uncertainty, never quite sure how we'll handle the next challenge that comes our way. In contrast, when we learn to respond thoughtfully, we reclaim our agency and align our actions with our deepest principles. We become architects of our own experience rather than passive victims of circumstance. This responsive approach allows us to maintain our integrity and inner peace regardless of what's happening around us, creating a stable foundation from which we can engage with life's challenges effectively and compassionately. The journey toward mastering this distinction begins with understanding what the Stoics meant when they spoke about living according to nature and reason. For the Stoics, human nature is fundamentally rational, and our highest calling is to live in accordance with this rational capacity. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or becoming coldly logical in all situations. Rather, it means using our rational faculty to examine our emotions, understand their origins, and choose how to act in ways that align with our values and long-term well-being. When faced with a triggering event, whether it's criticism from a colleague, unexpected bad news, or a frustrating delay, our immediate impulse is often to react based on the emotion the situation generates. We might feel angry, hurt, frustrated, or anxious, and these feelings can quickly translate into words or actions that we later wish we could take back. The Stoic approach involves creating space between the trigger and our response, using that space to engage our rational mind and choose our course of action deliberately. This reflective pause allows us to consider various possible outcomes and choose the one that is most reasoned, balanced, and, importantly, under our control. In practicing this approach, we're not suppressing our emotions or pretending they don't exist. Instead, we're acknowledging them, understanding their origins, and then deciding if and how they should influence our actions. This approach empowers us to interact with the world in a way that maintains our inner peace and integrity, regardless of external circumstances. The importance of responding over reacting extends far beyond personal peace. It influences the quality of our relationships, the effectiveness of our leadership, and our resilience in the face of adversity. When we respond thoughtfully, we demonstrate respect, understanding, and empathy toward others' viewpoints and experiences, fostering more meaningful and constructive interactions. We become people that others can rely on, knowing that we won't be derailed by temporary emotions or circumstances. Consider how different your relationships would be if you consistently responded from a place of thoughtfulness rather than reactivity. When someone says something that initially offends you, instead of immediately defending yourself or attacking back, you might pause to consider what might be driving their comment. Perhaps they're stressed, hurt, or simply expressing themselves poorly. This pause allows you to respond in a way that either diffuses the situation or addresses the real issue at hand, rather than escalating conflict unnecessarily. In professional settings, this distinction becomes even more crucial. Leaders who react impulsively to challenges or setbacks often create more problems than they solve. They might make hasty decisions, blame others unfairly, or create an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty. In contrast, leaders who have mastered the art of thoughtful response inspire confidence and trust. They create space for creative problem-solving and maintain team morale even during difficult periods. Embarking on this transformative journey to train the mind requires more than mere intention. It necessitates deliberate and sustained effort, much like the practices espoused by the Stoics. These ancient philosophers offer timeless insights that can anchor our modern approach to cultivating a responsive rather than reactive mind. The foundation of this transformation lies in developing profound self-awareness, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics emphasized the importance of introspection and understanding one's own thoughts, emotions, and motivations. In our context, this means cultivating an acute awareness of our mental and emotional states throughout the day. When you're aware of your thoughts and feelings as they arise, you're better equipped to manage them effectively rather than being controlled by them. This heightened self-awareness allows you to recognize the onset of emotional reactions before they fully take hold, providing the crucial first step in choosing a different, more reasoned response. It's like having an early warning system that alerts you when you're about to fall into reactive patterns, giving you the opportunity to make a different choice. Developing this awareness requires consistent practice and attention. You might start by simply noticing your emotional state several times throughout the day. What are you feeling right now? What thoughts are running through your mind? What physical sensations are you experiencing? This simple check-in practice helps you develop the habit of self-observation that forms the foundation of responsive living. Next, we explore the transformative practice of pausing, a simple yet profound strategy that Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, often spoke about. He wrote extensively about the space between stimulus and response, recognizing it as the space where we have the power to choose our actions. By cultivating the habit of pausing, even just for a few seconds, we give ourselves the opportunity to step back from our immediate impulses and engage our rational mind. This pause can be filled with a deep breath, a moment of reflection, or a brief meditation. It doesn't need to be long or elaborate. Sometimes even a 3-second pause is enough to shift from reactive to responsive mode. In this space, we can consult our inner wisdom, asking ourselves what virtue calls for in this moment and what response aligns with our highest self. This practice becomes particularly powerful when we're facing challenging or emotionally charged situations. The pause serves multiple functions. First, it interrupts the automatic pattern of stimulus response that often leads to reactive behavior. Second, it activates our prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for executive decision-making, rather than allowing our limbic system to drive our actions. Third, it reminds us that we have choices in how we respond, even when we don't have choices about what happens to us. Another pivotal strategy is reframing our perspective, a technique that Stoics used masterfully to maintain equanimity in the face of adversity. This involves consciously choosing to view a situation from a different angle, one that reduces its emotional charge and reveals alternative ways to engage with it. The Stoics understood that our suffering often comes not from events themselves, but from our judgments about those events. For instance, instead of seeing a challenging work situation as a threat to your competence or security, you might reframe it as an opportunity to grow, demonstrate resilience, or develop new skills. When faced with criticism, rather than immediately becoming defensive, you might view it as valuable feedback that could help you improve. When dealing with difficult people, instead of seeing them as obstacles, you might view them as teachers who are helping you develop patience and understanding. This reframing isn't about denial or positive thinking for its own sake. It's about recognizing that there are multiple ways to interpret any situation and choosing the interpretation that serves you and others best. By changing our narrative about what's happening, we shift our emotional responses and open up new possibilities for action. The Stoics were also strong advocates of focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. This principle, often considered the heart of Stoic philosophy, involves learning to invest our energy wisely, responding actively to our own thoughts and actions while accepting external events as they unfold. This doesn't mean being passive or indifferent to outcomes. Rather, it's about recognizing where our power truly lies and choosing to act there with intention and integrity. When we focus on what's within our control, we naturally become more responsive and less reactive. We stop wasting energy fighting against things we can't change and instead channel that energy into areas where we can make a real difference. This shift often leads to greater effectiveness and less frustration in our daily lives. The practice of consistent reflection and adjustment is also key to training the mind toward responsiveness. The Stoics engaged in daily self-examination, often at the end of each day, assessing their actions and progress toward virtue. Similarly, we can end our days by reflecting on our responses throughout the day, celebrating our successes in choosing thoughtful actions and learning from the times we fell back into reactivity. This ongoing process of self-assessment and improvement fosters a responsive mindset and cultivates the wisdom and balance that Stoicism so highly values. It's through this regular reflection that we begin to see patterns in our behavior and identify specific triggers or situations where we tend to react rather than respond. This awareness then allows us to prepare better strategies for similar situations in the future. Mindfulness, at its core, is about cultivating a deep awareness of the present moment. It's about observing our thoughts, emotions, and sensations without judgment, allowing us to gain insights into their nature and influence. By practicing mindfulness, we align with the Stoic endeavor to live with awareness and intention, anchoring ourselves firmly in the now, the only time when we truly have the power to act. One practical way to cultivate mindfulness is through focused attention exercises, such as breath meditation. By simply observing our breath, Noticing each inhale and exhale without trying to change it, we develop the ability to maintain attention and return it to our point of focus when it inevitably wanders. This practice is not just about relaxation, though that's often a pleasant side effect. It's a training ground for the mind, enhancing our ability to concentrate and remain present amid life's distractions and challenges. This enhanced capacity for sustained attention directly supports our ability to respond rather than react. When we can maintain awareness of our internal state and the present moment, we're much less likely to be swept away by automatic reactions. Instead, we can observe what's happening both internally and externally and choose our response from a place of clarity and centeredness. Another key practice is mindful observation, which can be applied to any daily activity, turning it into an opportunity for developing presence and awareness. Whether you're eating, walking, washing dishes, or even performing mundane tasks at work, you can practice being fully engaged with the activity, observing every aspect with curiosity and openness. This not only enriches the experience itself, but also strengthens your ability to remain focused and responsive in various situations. When we're fully present with our activities, we're training our minds to stay engaged with what's actually happening, rather than getting lost in thoughts about the past or worries about the future. This present moment awareness is crucial for responsive living because it keeps us grounded in reality rather than in our mental narratives about reality. Body scan meditation is another powerful mindfulness technique that fosters body awareness and presence. By attentively scanning through different parts of the body, noticing sensations, tension, or relaxation, we not only cultivate a greater connection with our physical selves, but also learn to recognize and release stored tensions and emotions. This practice echoes the Stoic understanding of the relationship between mind and body and the importance of not allowing physical sensations to unduly influence our rational minds. The body often holds the first signs of emotional reactivity: tension in the shoulders, a knot in the stomach, a tightness in the chest. When we're attuned to these physical signals, we can use them as early warning signs that we're moving into reactive mode, giving us the opportunity to pause and choose a more thoughtful response. Incorporating mindfulness into our interactions with others can also transform our relationships and communication. By being fully present with others, listening attentively without planning what we'll say next, and observing without judgment, we foster deeper understanding and connection. This practice aligns with the Stoic value of empathy and the recognition that others, too, are rational beings navigating their own challenges and experiences. When we're truly present in our interactions, we're much more likely to respond to what's actually being said and what's actually happening, rather than reacting to our assumptions, past experiences, or fears about the future. This presence allows for more authentic and effective communication and helps prevent many of the misunderstandings that arise when we're not fully engaged with others. By embracing these mindfulness practices, we walk a path tread by the Stoics, one that leads to greater clarity, tranquility, and effectiveness in our actions. As we cultivate a mindful presence, we equip ourselves with the tools to respond to life's inevitable challenges with grace, wisdom, and composure, embodying the best of what it means to live a Stoic-inspired life. Now let's turn our focus toward the pragmatic application of these insights, aiming to cultivate a lifestyle where responding thoughtfully consistently overshadows reactive impulses. This journey toward implementing response over reaction is not merely about suppressing natural reflexes. Rather, it's about enriching our engagement with life, echoing the Stoic virtue of living with deliberate intention and rationality. To embody the principles we've discussed, it's crucial to establish daily practices that reinforce the art of responding. Imagine you're faced with a challenging situation, perhaps a disagreement at work, an unexpected setback, or frustrating news. The immediate impulse might be to react emotionally, driven by frustration, disappointment, or anger. Yet this is precisely the moment to harness our Stoic-inspired training, to pause and consider the broader perspective. In such moments, we might ask ourselves, what would a wise person do in this situation? This question isn't a call for emotional suppression. Instead, it's an invitation to engage our rational mind, to evaluate the situation dispassionately and identify constructive responses. Here we're not eliminating emotions, but channeling them productively, using reason to navigate through them. It's about acknowledging our feelings, understanding their triggers, and then, with clarity and calm, deciding the best course of action that aligns with our values and objectives. In practical terms, this could mean taking a brief walk to clear your mind before responding to a provocative email. It might involve asking clarifying questions before assuming someone's intent. Or it could mean taking several deep breaths before addressing a conflict, allowing yourself to approach the situation from a place of centeredness rather than reactivity. Each time you choose to respond rather than react, you're reinforcing a pattern of thoughtful engagement with life's challenges. You're building what we might call response muscle, the capacity to consistently choose deliberate action over automatic reaction. This muscle grows stronger with practice, just like physical muscles grow stronger with exercise. Moreover, integrating this approach into your daily routines amplifies its impact significantly. You might begin your day with a reflection on your intentions, reminding yourself of your commitment to respond thoughtfully across various contexts. This morning, intention setting creates a foundation for the day, helping you remember your goal to practice responsive rather than reactive behavior. Regular journaling can also be incredibly valuable for developing and maintaining a responsive mindset. In your journal, you can reflect on your responses throughout the day, celebrate your successes in choosing thoughtful actions, and identify areas for growth. You might ask yourself questions like, when did I respond well today? When did I fall back into reactive patterns? What triggered those reactions? How might I handle similar situations differently in the future? This reflective practice helps you become increasingly aware of your patterns and progress. It also helps you identify specific triggers or situations where you tend to struggle with reactivity, allowing you to develop targeted strategies for those challenging areas. It's also important to embrace a mindset of continuous learning and adaptation, recognizing that each day offers fresh opportunities to practice and deepen your mastery of response over reaction. Some days you'll do better than others, and that's completely normal and expected. The goal isn't perfection, but rather consistent progress and learning. When you do fall back into reactive patterns, and you will because you're human, the Stoic approach is to view these moments as learning opportunities rather than failures. You might ask yourself, what can I learn from this reaction? What was I trying to protect or achieve? How might I handle a similar situation differently next time? This approach turns setbacks into stepping stones for growth. By committing to this path, you're not just adopting a strategy for stress reduction or conflict management. You're embracing a way of life that reflects the Stoic pursuit of virtue and wisdom. You're choosing to live with intentionality, aligning your actions with your highest ideals, and in doing so, you're contributing to a more reasoned, compassionate, and responsive world. The ripple effects of this transformation extend far beyond your personal experience. When you consistently respond thoughtfully rather than reactively, you create space for others to do the same. You model a different way of engaging with challenges and conflicts. You contribute to more constructive conversations and relationships. You become a stabilizing presence in an often chaotic world. This doesn't mean you become passive or that you never express strong emotions. Rather, it means that your expressions come from a place of choice rather than compulsion. You might still feel angry about injustice, but you channel that anger into constructive action rather than destructive reaction. You might still feel hurt by someone's words, but you use that hurt as information rather than allowing it to drive your response. The journey from reaction to response is indeed transformative, beckoning us toward a deeper engagement with our inner selves and the external world. It's a path that the Stoics walked with diligence and dedication, and now, with their wisdom guiding us, we too can aspire to navigate life's inevitable changes and challenges with grace, equanimity, and rationality, embodying the true spirit of Stoicism in our modern era. The essence of this exploration is not just about managing our reactions in isolation, but about integrating a responsive, thoughtful approach into the very fabric of our lives. By embracing the principles of Stoicism, focusing on what's within our control, acting with reason, and striving for virtue, we empower ourselves to navigate life's challenges with greater equanimity and purpose. This Stoic-inspired path encourages us to view every moment as an opportunity to practice our commitment to response over reaction. Whether we're faced with daily irritations, significant setbacks, or pivotal decisions, each situation presents a chance to embody the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. By consistently choosing to respond thoughtfully, we not only enhance our own well-being, but also contribute positively to the lives of those around us. Remember, the journey toward mastering response over reaction is ongoing, a process of continual learning and growth. Like the Stoics, we must embrace the discipline of self-reflection, regularly assessing our progress and adjusting our course as needed. This commitment to personal growth not only brings us closer to our ideal selves, but also resonates outward, influencing our relationships, communities, and the broader tapestry of our interconnected lives. The transformation from reactive to responsive living represents one of the most profound shifts we can make in how we experience life. It moves us from being victims of circumstance to architects of our experience. It shifts us from being controlled by our emotions to using them as valuable information. It transforms us from being unpredictable forces in the world to being reliable sources of wisdom and stability. As we conclude this exploration, remember that every moment presents a choice, a chance to embody the calm, resilience, and wisdom of Stoicism. In the grand tapestry of life, your responses are threads of your character, woven with intention and purpose. Each thoughtful response you choose strengthens the fabric of who you are becoming and contributes to the kind of world you want to live in. The ancient Stoics faced many of the same challenges we face today: difficult relationships, professional setbacks, health concerns, political turmoil, and the inevitable losses that come with being human. Yet, they developed a philosophy and set of practices that allowed them to maintain their integrity and peace of mind, regardless of external circumstances. Their wisdom is not merely historical curiosity, but living guidance that can transform how we experience and navigate our modern lives. May your journey forward be enriched with clarity, virtue, and peace. May you find strength in the knowledge that while you cannot control what happens to you, you always have the power to choose how you respond. And may you discover the profound freedom that comes from aligning your actions with your deepest values, regardless of what storms may rage around you. Have you ever encountered someone who walks into a room and instantly grabs attention, not because they're loud, flashy, or trying too hard, but because there's something about them that feels effortlessly magnetic? This phenomenon represents what we might call silent attractiveness, a quality that transcends conventional notions of charisma or physical beauty. It's not about being the center of attention or commanding the spotlight through dramatic gestures or verbose declarations. Instead, it's about embodying a kind of energy that is calm, composed, and deeply self-assured, creating a gravitational pull that draws people in naturally and authentically. Silent attractiveness doesn't require perfect looks, designer clothes, or grand gestures that announce your presence to the world. Rather, it emerges from something far more profound and enduring: how you carry yourself through life, how you treat others in both significant and mundane moments, and how comfortable you are in your own skin. It's about mastering habits that speak louder than words, habits that project confidence, kindness, and self-respect without demanding attention or validation from others. The most remarkable aspect of cultivating this kind of presence is that you don't have to fundamentally change who you are or adopt a false persona to achieve it. Instead, you simply need to become more aligned with your best self, more conscious of the energy you bring into every interaction, and more intentional about the daily practices that shape your character. This alignment creates an authenticity that people can sense immediately, even if they can't articulate exactly what makes you so compelling. The concept of silent attractiveness draws deeply from timeless principles that have guided human behavior for millennia, particularly those found in Stoic philosophy. These aren't gimmicks, quick fixes, or manipulation tactics designed to trick people into liking you. Instead, they represent enduring principles that help you build inner strength, emotional intelligence, and a quiet confidence that makes people respect and admire you without you even trying. We're exploring the art of embracing independence while remaining connected, mastering elegant restraint while staying authentic, cultivating wisdom while maintaining humility, and becoming someone whose very presence leaves a lasting impression on everyone they encounter. By understanding and implementing these principles, you'll begin to realize that true attractiveness isn't something you chase or perform. It's something you cultivate from within. It's quiet, steady, and once you master it, you'll discover how powerful it can be in transforming not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. This transformation creates a positive feedback loop where increased self-respect leads to more magnetic presence, which in turn reinforces your sense of self-worth and confidence. The journey towards silent attractiveness begins with embracing your authentic independence, a quality that represents one of the most powerful forms of personal magnetism. There's a certain undeniable power in those who don't need others to validate their worth, a quiet strength that's impossible to ignore or fake. Authentic independence isn't about closing yourself off from meaningful connections or proving that you don't need anyone in your life. Instead, it's about living life on your own terms, being guided by your personal values and convictions, and finding genuine fulfillment in who you are, rather than in how others perceive or judge you. This kind of independence is magnetic because it sends a clear, unspoken message to everyone you encounter. I respect myself, I know my worth, and I don't need external approval to feel whole or complete. People are naturally drawn to those who stand strong in their individuality, particularly in a world where so many seem caught up in endless comparison, constantly chasing validation through social media metrics, material possessions, or the approval of others. Authentic independence is rare in our interconnected, approval-seeking culture, which makes it refreshing, inspiring, and deeply attractive to those who encounter it. When you're truly independent in this authentic sense, you're not trying to keep up with anyone else's pace or compete in games that don't align with your values. Instead, you're focused on your own path, your own progress, and your own definition of success and fulfillment. This quiet focus speaks louder than any words ever could. You don't have to announce to people that you're confident. They'll feel it in your presence. You don't have to declare that you're in control of your life. It will show in the way you carry yourself, in your calm demeanor during challenging situations, and in your unshakable sense of self. However, cultivating authentic independence isn't always easy, particularly in a society that often rewards conformity and punishes those who dare to be different. True independence means trusting yourself when no one's cheering you on, standing by your choices even when they're unpopular or misunderstood, and learning to genuinely enjoy your own company. Not because you're avoiding others or because you're antisocial, but because you've developed a genuine sense of peace and contentment within yourself. When you reach this point of authentic self-reliance, when you stop needing external noise, drama, or validation to feel whole and complete, you become someone others naturally respect, admire, and are quietly drawn to. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but through consistent practice and self-reflection, you begin to radiate the kind of quiet confidence that makes people take notice. It's crucial to understand that authentic independence is the complete opposite of arrogance or superiority. It doesn't communicate, "I don't need anyone," or "I'm better than everyone else." Instead, it quietly says, "I'm strong enough on my own," and that's precisely why I can truly connect with others from a place of choice rather than neediness. It's about being whole and complete as an individual so that your relationships are built on mutual respect, shared interests, and genuine affection rather than dependence, insecurity, or emotional manipulation. To cultivate this transformative habit, begin by reflecting deeply on your core values and examining whether you're truly living according to what matters most to you. Ask yourself honestly, am I making choices based on my inner compass and authentic desires, or am I being driven by what others expect of me, what society tells me I should want, or what will gain me the most approval? Independence begins the moment you start making choices that align with your true self, rather than choices designed to please others or fit into external expectations. Equally important is spending intentional time alone, not out of loneliness, social anxiety, or avoidance, but as a deliberate practice to reconnect with who you are beneath all the roles you play and masks you wear. Whether it's taking solitary walks in nature, journaling about your thoughts and experiences, or simply sitting in comfortable silence, These moments of solitude strengthen your sense of self and help you distinguish between your authentic voice and the voices of others that may have influenced your thinking over the years. The beauty of authentic independence is that it naturally creates space for deeper, more meaningful connections with others. When you're not desperately seeking approval or validation, you can interact with people from a place of genuine interest rather than need. You can offer your presence as a gift rather than as a transaction, and you can receive others' attention and affection without the desperate clutching that comes from scarcity thinking. Moving beyond independence, the next crucial element of silent attractiveness involves mastering the art of what we might call silent elegance. Sometimes the most powerful statements are made without any words at all. Silent elegance represents the ability to carry yourself with grace, poise, and quiet confidence in every situation you encounter. It's not about dominating conversations, being the loudest person in the room, or demanding attention through dramatic gestures. Instead, it's about how you move through the world, how you interact with others, and the energy you project simply through your presence. Think about someone you know who walks into any room with a calm, assured presence. They don't have to announce themselves or make grand entrances, yet people can't help but notice them. This exemplifies the essence of silent elegance. It's a combination of composure, thoughtful actions, and respectful behavior that creates lasting impressions, often more powerful than anything you could ever say. The way you carry yourself creates an aura that speaks volumes about your character, self-respect, and inner strength. Silent elegance begins with body language, as confidence isn't just expressed through your words, but through how you stand, how you walk, and how you hold yourself in various situations. A relaxed, upright posture combined with steady, respectful eye contact demonstrates self-assurance without crossing into arrogance. You don't need exaggerated movements, nervous gestures, or theatrical expressions to make an impact. In fact, simplicity and restraint are key components of true elegance. When your body language communicates calm and self-control, people are naturally drawn to your stable, grounding presence. Silent elegance is also reflected in your manners and how you treat others, regardless of their status, position, or ability to benefit you. Courteous behavior, greeting others warmly, listening attentively without interrupting, and being mindful of how your actions affect those around you, shows both respect for others and self-respect. It's not about being overly formal, distant, or putting on airs. Rather, it's about bringing a quiet grace to your interactions that makes everyone feel valued and respected in your presence. Beyond body language and manners, silent elegance involves emotional restraint and composure, particularly during challenging or stressful situations. In a world full of noise, drama, and reactive responses, the ability to stay calm and composed when others are losing their cool represents a rare and powerful quality. When you don't react impulsively to provocations, don't engage in unnecessary conflicts, and don't allow external chaos to disturb your inner peace, you demonstrate a quiet power that others notice and respect. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this principle deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." True elegance lies in that calm stability. When your actions are deliberate rather than reactive, your words are measured rather than impulsive, and your presence remains steady even when everything around you feels chaotic. People instinctively trust and respect you. They see someone who is in control of themselves rather than being controlled by external circumstances. Cultivating silent elegance requires mindful attention to the small details of how you move through the world. Start by paying attention to how you carry yourself throughout the day. Are you constantly rushing, appearing tense or anxious, or reacting emotionally to minor inconveniences? Practice slowing down, standing tall, and breathing deeply. Notice how you interact with others. Are you truly listening and present, or are you just waiting for your turn to speak? Silent elegance grows from this kind of mindfulness, from being fully present in your interactions and thoughtful in your responses. The cultivation of silent elegance also involves developing what we might call refined simplicity. Elegance doesn't mean perfection or pretension. It means striving to bring your best self forward in every situation. Whether it's dressing with understated style, speaking with clarity and purpose, or approaching difficult situations with grace rather than drama, it's the small, consistent efforts that build an aura of quiet sophistication over time. Another crucial aspect of silent attractiveness involves what we might call the subtle scent of sophistication. While this might seem like a minor detail, the truth is that sometimes the smallest elements of our presentation leave the biggest impressions on others. The concept of subtle sophistication through scent isn't about overwhelming those around you with strong fragrances or expensive perfumes. Instead, it's about leaving a faint, refined impression that lingers pleasantly in people's minds, a well-chosen scent that reflects attention to detail, personal care, and a quiet sense of elegance. Consider how powerfully scent connects to memory and emotion. You've probably had the experience of catching a whiff of a particular fragrance and immediately thinking of someone specific. A subtle, pleasant scent creates an aura of sophistication without requiring a single word or gesture. It's an understated way of communicating that you take care of yourself, that you value the details that others might overlook, and that you're mindful of how your presence affects those around you. However, sophistication through scent extends far beyond simply wearing cologne or perfume. True sophistication involves balance and restraint. Overpowering fragrances can be off-putting and suggest a lack of awareness about personal space and consideration for others. A light, refined scent, whether it's a signature fragrance that reflects your personality or simply the clean, fresh smell of excellent personal hygiene, can make people naturally want to be closer to you. It communicates that you pay attention not just to how you appear visually, but to the unseen details that complete your overall presence. The art of scent also represents something deeper about intentionality and self-awareness. Taking the time to choose a scent that resonates with your personality and complements your natural energy shows a level of thoughtfulness that extends beyond surface-level concerns. Whether you prefer something woody and grounding, fresh and energizing, or subtly sweet and warm, your scent should enhance your presence rather than overpower it. It should feel like a natural extension of who you are rather than a mask you're wearing. Beyond fragrance, sophistication is reflected in your overall approach to personal care and presentation. Cleanliness, grooming, and thoughtful attention to your appearance silently communicate volumes about your self-respect and how you value yourself. This isn't about vanity or superficial concerns. It's about showing that you respect yourself enough to present your best self to the world. This quiet confidence, reflected in attention to these seemingly small details, creates a lasting impression on others. The Stoic philosophers understood that how you present yourself externally should align with your inner values and character. Seneca advised, "Let your outward appearance be simple and dignified, reflecting the serenity of your mind." By cultivating a subtle, refined presence Through thoughtful attention to scent and personal care, you project an image of someone who is calm, composed, and mindful, not through grand gestures or expensive displays, but through consistent attention to quality and detail. Perhaps one of the most powerful habits you can develop for silent attractiveness is the practice of being fully present in every interaction and situation. In our world of constant distractions, digital interruptions, and scattered attention, there's something undeniably captivating about someone who is truly present with you. Being fully present isn't just about showing up physically, it's about giving your undivided attention to the moment and the people you're with, creating a rare and precious gift in our attention deficit culture. We've all experienced the frustration of trying to communicate with someone who is only half listening, whose eyes keep darting to their phone, whose mind is clearly elsewhere, or who seems to be waiting for their turn to speak rather than genuinely hearing what you're saying. It feels dismissive and invalidating, as if your thoughts and feelings don't matter enough to warrant their full attention. In contrast, when someone is fully engaged, when they're looking you in the eye, listening without interrupting, and responding thoughtfully to what you've actually said, it creates a completely different experience. You feel heard, respected, and valued, and that feeling creates a powerful connection. This is the silent power of presence. It draws people in by making them feel important and valued. Being fully present isn't about perfection or never having a wandering thought. It's about intention and practice. It means making a conscious choice to resist the urge to check your phone every few minutes, to mentally rehearse what you're going to say next while someone else is speaking, or to let your mind drift to your to-do list or future concerns while someone is sharing something important with you. When you master this habit of presence, you create deeper, more meaningful connections with others, because people don't just remember what you said, they remember how you made them feel. They remember feeling seen, heard, and respected in your presence. This kind of authentic connection is increasingly rare in our distracted world, which makes it all the more powerful and attractive when someone encounters it. Stoic philosophy places tremendous emphasis on living in the present moment, rather than being trapped in regrets about the past or anxieties about the future. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, recognizing that true strength and wisdom come from engaging fully with the here and now." When you're genuinely present, you're in complete control of your mind, your emotions, and your interactions, making you someone others naturally respect and feel drawn to. Being present also involves developing the skill of observation without judgment. This means noticing the subtleties of human interaction, the emotions behind someone's words, the mood and energy of a room, the unspoken cues in a conversation that reveal what people are really feeling or needing. This level of awareness makes you more perceptive, empathetic, and socially intelligent, and when combined with genuine presence, it makes you quietly irresistible to others. Cultivating presence requires consistent practice and mindfulness in everyday moments. Whether you're having a conversation with a friend, eating a meal, or walking outside, focus entirely on the experience at hand. Put away distractions, both external and internal. Listen more than you speak, and when you do speak, make sure your words are thoughtful and relevant to what's actually happening in the moment. The practice of presence is magnetic because it's so rare and precious in our current cultural moment. In a world constantly vying for attention, someone who offers their undivided focus stands out not by trying to be noticed, but by making others feel truly seen and valued. When you give someone your full attention, you communicate without saying a word. you matter to me, and this moment we're sharing is important. Another element that contributes significantly to silent attractiveness is maintaining what we might call a touch of mystery. In our current era of oversharing, constant social media updates, and the tendency to broadcast every detail of our lives, there's something profoundly attractive about someone who keeps certain parts of themselves private. A touch of mystery isn't about being distant, secretive, or playing manipulative games. It's about understanding the power of restraint and knowing when to share openly and when to leave things unsaid, creating an air of intrigue that naturally draws people in. Mystery is powerful because it leaves room for others to wonder and imagine. When you reveal everything about yourself all at once, every thought, every experience, every opinion, there's nothing left for others to discover. But when you keep certain aspects of your life, thoughts and experiences private, you invite others to be curious, to want to learn more, to see you as someone with depth and complexity worth exploring. This isn't manipulation. It's simply the natural allure of the unknown and the human tendency toward curiosity about what lies beneath the surface. However, being mysterious doesn't mean being fake, pretentious, or playing calculated games with people's emotions. Instead, it's about being thoughtful and selective about what you choose to share and when. You don't have to broadcast every detail of your personal life, explain every decision you make, or justify every choice to others. Focus on sharing what feels meaningful and significant while keeping other parts of your life appropriately private. The Stoics understood the value of thoughtful restraint in communication. Epictetus taught, "Be silent, or let your words be worth more than silence." Mystery works according to the same principle. It's not about withholding information for its own sake, but about offering value when you do speak, and understanding that sometimes silence or reserve speaks louder and more powerfully than constant explanation or revelation. Cultivating an appropriate touch of mystery isn't just about controlling information. It's also about your actions and choices. Don't always explain why you do what you do or justify every decision to others. When you make a bold choice or take an interesting direction in your life, let your actions speak for themselves rather than providing lengthy explanations or seeking approval. This quiet confidence signals that you don't need external validation for your choices. You're content with letting your life unfold according to your own values and vision. Another way to create a healthy sense of mystery is by developing what we might call a layered life. Being the kind of person who has depth, varied interests, unexpected passions, and values that aren't immediately obvious to casual observers. When people get to know you over time, they should feel like they're gradually discovering new facets of who you are, peeling back layers and finding new aspects of your personality, interests, and character. This makes interactions with you more engaging, more memorable, and more rewarding for others. The goal of maintaining mystery isn't to become distant or unavailable, but to become more intentional about how you share yourself with others. Share enough to build genuine trust and meaningful connections, but hold back enough to leave room for curiosity and continued discovery. Let people earn the right to know your deeper stories, your more vulnerable thoughts, and your most personal experiences. This approach not only protects your emotional energy and personal space, but also makes those deeper connections more special and meaningful when they do occur. Cultivating cultural wisdom represents another powerful component of silent attractiveness. There's something undeniably appealing about a person who carries themselves with quiet confidence while demonstrating a broad, thoughtful understanding of the world around them. Developing cultural wisdom means nurturing an open, curious mind, embracing diverse perspectives, and enriching your conversations with insights that go beyond surface-level small talk. It's not about showing off your knowledge or trying to impress others with how much you know. It's about being someone who listens actively, learns continuously, and offers thoughtful perspectives when the moment calls for it. Cultural wisdom extends far beyond knowing facts about different countries, speaking multiple languages, or having traveled extensively. While those experiences can certainly contribute to your understanding, true cultural wisdom is fundamentally about curiosity. Being genuinely interested in people's experiences, their traditions, their worldviews, and their ways of understanding life. It demonstrates that you're someone who doesn't live in a narrow bubble of your own making, but actively seeks to understand the rich complexity of human experience beyond your immediate environment. This broad awareness and genuine curiosity add depth and substance to your character, making you someone who can engage meaningfully in almost any conversation. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel seen, heard, and understood. And when you cultivate cultural wisdom, you develop the ability to connect with people from all walks of life, backgrounds, and belief systems. This understanding allows you to find common ground with others while respecting and appreciating the differences that make each person unique. Instead of imposing your own views or trying to convince others that your perspective is the only correct one, cultural wisdom allows you to offer insights that invite reflection, dialogue, and mutual learning. You become someone who can listen to different viewpoints without immediately judging them, who can ask thoughtful questions that demonstrate genuine interest rather than interrogation, and who can contribute to conversations in ways that broaden everyone's understanding. The Stoic philosophers placed tremendous value on understanding the world and one's place within it. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Look beneath the surface. Let not the outward appearances mislead you." Cultivating cultural wisdom allows you to look deeper, not just at people and situations, but at life itself. It develops your ability to see beyond stereotypes, assumptions, and first impressions, giving you the capacity to navigate complex social situations with grace, because you're not rigid in your thinking or limited by narrow perspectives. To develop genuine cultural wisdom, start by intentionally broadening your horizons through reading, learning, and engaging with ideas that challenge your existing beliefs and assumptions. Seek out books, documentaries, podcasts, and other resources that expose you to different ways of thinking about life, success, relationships, and meaning. The goal isn't to become a walking encyclopedia or to accumulate facts for their own sake. It's to become someone who appreciates the incredible richness and diversity of human experience and thought. Equally important is engaging in conversations with people who have different experiences, backgrounds, and perspectives from your own. When someone shares their views or experiences with you, resist the immediate urge to agree or disagree. Instead, focus on understanding their perspective, asking thoughtful questions, and showing genuine interest in learning from them, rather than simply waiting for your turn to speak or trying to convince them of your point of view. Being knowledgeable and culturally aware doesn't mean you need to dominate conversations or turn every interaction into a lecture or debate. In fact, the most attractive and respected individuals are those who know when to speak and when to listen, when to share their insights, and when to simply absorb what others are offering. When you do contribute to conversations, Do so with humility and authenticity, offering perspectives not to impress others, but to genuinely enrich the dialogue and mutual understanding. The heart of silent attractiveness also lies in what we might call the heartbeat of compassion. In our fast-paced, often self-centered world, pausing to show genuine empathy and kindness sets you apart in the most profound way possible. Compassion isn't loud or attention-seeking. It's quiet, yet deeply impactful. It represents the silent heartbeat that makes people feel safe, understood, and valued in your presence. While many people try to win others over by being charming, witty, or impressive, true lasting attraction comes from being someone who listens with genuine care, offers warmth without expecting anything in return, and creates space for others to be authentically themselves. Compassion doesn't require grand gestures, expensive gifts, or dramatic demonstrations of care. Instead, it's found in the small, everyday moments: a thoughtful word when someone is struggling, a kind smile that acknowledges someone's humanity, a patient ear when someone needs to feel heard and understood. When you demonstrate compassion consistently, you radiate a quiet strength that draws people in naturally, because genuine kindness is increasingly rare in a world where so many interactions feel transactional or superficial. People are naturally attracted to those who make them feel understood rather than judged, accepted rather than criticized, and valued rather than used. Compassion creates emotional bridges that allow you to connect with others on a deeper level, fostering the kind of trust and closeness that forms the foundation of meaningful relationships. It's not about trying to fix people's problems, having all the right answers, or taking responsibility for others' emotions. Instead, it's about being present with others in their experiences and showing through your presence that you genuinely care about their well-being. The Stoic philosophers, often misunderstood as advocating for emotional detachment or indifference, actually emphasized empathy and kindness as essential virtues for living a meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself," recognizing that true strength comes not from hardness or indifference, but from the ability to understand others' struggles while maintaining your own integrity and boundaries. Stoic compassion isn't about being soft, permissive, or allowing others to take advantage of your kindness. Rather, it's about understanding the common humanity that connects all people while maintaining your own emotional stability and clear boundaries. When you approach life with this balanced perspective, you become someone others feel naturally drawn to, not because you solve all their problems or always tell them what they want to hear, but because your presence offers a combination of understanding and strength that feels both comforting and inspiring. Cultivating genuine compassion requires finding the delicate balance between caring deeply and maintaining healthy boundaries. This means being kind without becoming a doormat, being empathetic without absorbing everyone's emotional burdens, and being supportive without trying to control or fix other people's lives. Compassion starts with the fundamental practice of listening, not to respond with advice or solutions, but simply to understand and acknowledge what someone is experiencing. When someone shares something personal or difficult with you, resist the immediate urge to offer solutions, relate their experience to your own, or minimize their feelings. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer is simply your full presence and attention, showing through your body language and responses that you're genuinely engaged with what they're telling you. This kind of deep listening is a form of compassion that many people rarely experience in their daily lives. Compassion also involves practicing patience, both with others and with yourself. Life is messy, people are imperfect, and everyone is dealing with challenges and struggles that may not be visible on the surface. When you show patience in difficult moments, when you can remain calm and supportive when others are struggling, you demonstrate an emotional maturity that is quietly attractive and deeply appreciated. The practice of self-compassion is equally important in developing your capacity to be genuinely kind to others. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and if you're constantly harsh and critical with yourself, it becomes nearly impossible to offer authentic warmth and understanding to others. Take care of your own emotional well-being. Practice forgiveness toward your own mistakes and imperfections, and treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a good friend. Another dimension of silent attractiveness involves cultivating the capacity for genuine laughter and joy. Few qualities are as universally magnetic as someone who radiates authentic happiness and knows how to find humor and lightness even in challenging situations. Laughter serves as a universal connector, breaking down social barriers and making even the most serious or tense situations feel more manageable and human. When you develop the habit of finding joy in life's moments, both big and small, you become someone others naturally want to be around, because your presence brings a sense of warmth and lightness that feels both refreshing and deeply attractive. Life inevitably presents everyone with challenges, setbacks, disappointments and struggles, but when you develop the ability to find humor and maintain perspective even during difficult times, you demonstrate a form of resilience that quietly commands respect and admiration. This isn't about being naive, dismissive of real problems, or forcing artificial cheerfulness in inappropriate situations. Rather, it's about maintaining an underlying sense of joy and optimism that helps you navigate life's ups and downs with grace and perspective. People are naturally drawn to those who can lift the energy of a room without trying too hard, those who can find something to smile about even when circumstances aren't perfect, and those who approach life with a fundamental sense of curiosity and appreciation rather than constant complaint or negativity. This positive energy is contagious and creates an atmosphere where others feel permission to relax, be themselves, and enjoy the moment. The Stoic philosophers, despite their reputation for seriousness and discipline, actually understood the importance of maintaining perspective and finding meaning even in challenging circumstances. Epictetus famously taught that it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Choosing to respond to life's inevitable unpredictability with humor and grace, rather than bitterness or despair, represents an act of quiet strength and wisdom that others find deeply attractive. Laughter and shared humor also create some of the strongest bonds between people. Think about your closest friendships and relationships. How many of them were strengthened and deepened through moments of shared laughter? Humor builds trust, creates a sense of connection and belonging, and makes people feel comfortable around you because they know they don't have to be perfect or constantly serious to be accepted and appreciated. Cultivating this habit doesn't mean forcing yourself to be funny or trying to become the comedian of every group. Instead, it's about embracing joy in an authentic way that feels natural to your personality. It means learning not to take yourself too seriously, finding moments to smile and appreciate life's small pleasures, and seeing the lighter side of situations without dismissing their importance or significance. To develop this attractive quality, start by paying attention to your daily moments of genuine joy and contentment. When something makes you smile or laugh, lean into that feeling and share it appropriately with those around you. Learn to laugh at your own mistakes and imperfections, not in a way that diminishes your efforts or achievements, but in a way that shows you understand your own humanity and can maintain perspective about life's inevitable challenges and setbacks. It's also valuable to consciously surround yourself with people who bring out your best self, who appreciate and share your sense of humor, and who know how to find joy and meaning in everyday experiences. Joy and laughter are genuinely contagious emotions, and when you make it a habit to seek out and create moments of shared happiness, you create an environment where everyone feels lighter, more positive, and more connected. The art of self-care represents another crucial component of silent attractiveness, though it's often misunderstood or dismissed as vanity or self-indulgence. True self-care involves much more than superficial pampering or luxury treatments. It represents a quiet, undeniable magnetism that comes from someone who genuinely takes care of themselves, not out of narcissism or vanity, but out of deep respect for their own well-being and understanding of their own worth. Self-care is essentially a statement, a way of silently communicating to the world that you value yourself, your body, your mind, and your overall quality of life enough to invest consistently in maintaining and improving all aspects of your health and happiness. When you prioritize genuine self-care, you send a clear, powerful message to everyone around you. I respect myself enough to take responsibility for my own well-being and happiness. This quiet confidence and self-respect naturally draws people in, not because you're seeking attention or validation, but because people are inherently attracted to those who radiate vitality, balance, and inner strength. Self-care begins with the foundation of physical well-being, which involves taking care of your body through regular exercise, proper nutrition, adequate rest, and attention to your physical health. You don't need to look like a fitness model or follow the latest health trends to project this kind of attractive energy. Instead, it's about maintaining a lifestyle that shows you take responsibility for your own physical well-being. When others observe that you respect and care for your body, it creates an unspoken admiration and respect for your discipline and self-regard. However, authentic self-care extends far beyond physical health to encompass mental and emotional well-being as well. Life is inherently stressful, and everyone faces periods of challenge, uncertainty, and emotional difficulty. Those who practice genuine self-care cultivate habits and practices that help them manage stress effectively, maintain mental clarity, and preserve their emotional balance. Whether through meditation, journaling, therapy, creative expression, or simply taking regular time to unwind and recharge, self-care allows you to stay mentally resilient and emotionally stable. This mental clarity and emotional stability create a calm, composed presence that others can sense immediately and are naturally drawn to. When you take care of your mental health, you're able to show up more fully in your relationships, make better decisions, and maintain perspective during challenging times. This inner balance makes you not only more attractive to others, but also more effective and satisfied in your own life. The Stoic philosophers understood the crucial importance of maintaining balance between mind and body. Seneca wrote, "A sound mind in a sound body is a short but full description of a happy state in this world." Practicing comprehensive self-care aligns perfectly with this ancient wisdom. When you care for both your physical and mental well-being, you cultivate a state of balance that enhances not only how you feel, but also how others perceive and relate to you. Self-care also involves the crucial practice of setting and maintaining healthy boundaries in your relationships and commitments. This means knowing when to say no to requests that would compromise your well-being, when to prioritize rest over productivity, and when to choose your own needs over the endless demands and expectations of others. People who respect themselves enough to set appropriate boundaries are often more attractive, not because they're unavailable or difficult, but because they demonstrate that they understand their own worth and won't compromise their values or well-being for external approval. Boundaries protect your energy, time, and emotional resources, and when you're mindful about where and how you invest these precious resources, you naturally command more respect from others. People can sense when someone knows their own value and won't accept treatment that falls below their standards. This self-respect creates an attractive confidence that draws the right kind of people while naturally repelling those who might try to take advantage of someone with poor boundaries. True self-care is never selfish when practiced appropriately. It's actually essential for being able to show up fully for others. When you take good care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally, you have more energy, patience, clarity, and compassion to offer in your relationships and responsibilities. You become someone who can be genuinely supportive and present for others because you're not constantly running on empty or struggling with your own unmet needs. The development of emotional intelligence and social awareness represents perhaps one of the most sophisticated and attractive qualities you can cultivate. There's something effortlessly magnetic about a person who truly understands not only their own emotions, but also the emotional landscape of those around them. Emotional intelligence and social awareness are among the most powerful yet underrated habits you can develop to become silently attractive. This isn't about manipulating situations or trying to control outcomes through emotional manipulation. Rather, it's about developing the capacity to read social situations accurately, respond to people's emotions with appropriate empathy and wisdom, and navigate complex interpersonal dynamics with grace and understanding. At its core, emotional intelligence involves the ability to recognize, understand, and effectively manage your own emotions while remaining attuned to and responsive to the emotions of others. Imagine being in a tense, emotionally charged situation where everyone around you is on edge, reactive, or upset. The emotionally intelligent person doesn't add fuel to the fire or escalate the conflict. Instead, they remain calm, observe what's really happening beneath the surface drama, and respond thoughtfully in ways that help de-escalate tension and create space for more productive interaction. This quiet composure and emotional wisdom make such individuals someone others naturally respect and look to for guidance during difficult times. People often remember how you made them feel far more vividly and for much longer than they remember the specific words you said. When you practice emotional intelligence consistently, you create interpersonal spaces where people feel seen, heard, understood, and valued. You're not trying to dominate conversations, prove your intelligence, or demonstrate your superiority. Instead, you're listening deeply, engaging authentically, and responding in ways that foster genuine connection and mutual understanding. Social awareness, on the other hand, represents the ability to pick up on subtle social cues, understand group dynamics, and adapt your behavior appropriately to different social contexts and situations. It means knowing instinctively when to speak and when to listen, when to step forward and take initiative, and when to step back and allow others to lead. The Stoics placed tremendous importance on self-mastery and understanding others. Epictetus taught that We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Social awareness allows you to embody this wisdom practically, helping you engage meaningfully in social situations without overwhelming others or dominating the conversation. Developing emotional intelligence begins with cultivating deep self-awareness about your own emotional patterns, triggers, and habitual responses. Ask yourself honestly, how do I typically react when I'm stressed, criticized, disappointed, or challenged? The goal isn't to suppress, deny, or judge your emotions, but to understand them well enough that you can respond to them in balanced, constructive ways rather than being controlled by them. When you're aware of your own emotional triggers and have developed healthy strategies for managing them, you radiate a quiet confidence that people find incredibly attractive. You're not easily rattled by unexpected challenges. You don't take things personally that aren't actually about you, and you don't project your internal struggles onto others. This emotional stability creates a sense of safety and reliability that draws people to you naturally. Once you've developed solid self-awareness, the next crucial step involves cultivating genuine empathy, the ability to understand and connect with what others are feeling, even when they don't explicitly express their emotions or when their experiences are very different from your own. Empathy isn't about trying to fix people's problems, offering unsolicited advice, or taking responsibility for others' emotional states. Instead, it's about showing through your presence, attention, and responses that you genuinely care about their experience and well-being. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer someone is simply a patient ear, a thoughtful nod, or a response that shows you've really heard and understood what they're trying to communicate. These small, quiet acts of emotional attunement create lasting impressions and build the kind of trust and connection that forms the foundation of meaningful relationships. Social awareness involves being mindful of the energy and mood you bring into different spaces and situations. Before you enter a room or join a conversation, take a moment to observe and assess the emotional climate. Are people relaxed and playful, or are they serious and focused? Is there tension that needs to be acknowledged, or is there joy that can be celebrated? When you develop this kind of situational awareness, you become someone who enhances rather than disrupts the natural flow of social interaction. To cultivate these crucial skills, practice being fully present in your interactions with others. Put away distractions, make appropriate eye contact, and genuinely listen to both what people are saying and what they're not saying. Pay attention to body language, tone of voice, and the emotional undertones of conversations. Notice when someone seems uncomfortable, excited, worried, or distracted, and respond to the whole person rather than just their words. Ask yourself regularly, am I creating a positive, supportive atmosphere in my interactions, or am I unintentionally contributing to tension, misunderstanding, or disconnection? When you begin to approach social situations with this level of mindfulness and intentionality, you'll notice a significant shift in how people respond to you. They'll seek out your company, not because you're trying to be impressive or entertaining, but because your presence feels grounding, understanding, and emotionally intelligent. The final crucial element that ties all these qualities together is consistency and reliability. In a world where people often overpromise and underdeliver, where commitments are made casually and broken easily, being someone who can genuinely be counted on sets you apart in the most powerful way possible. Consistency and reliability aren't flashy or attention-grabbing qualities. but they form the bedrock of trust and respect in all relationships. It's not about seeking recognition or making grand gestures. It's about building trust through steady, dependable actions, day after day, year after year. Consistency creates a sense of stability and predictability that people find deeply comforting in an uncertain world. When others know they can rely on you, whether for emotional support, practical help, or simply keeping your word, it fosters a quiet respect that goes far deeper than momentary admiration. You don't have to announce your dependability or make a big deal about your reliability. Instead, it's demonstrated through your actions over time, creating a solid reputation built on integrity and trustworthiness. Reliability isn't about perfection or never making mistakes. It's about showing up consistently, especially when it's inconvenient, challenging, or when you don't feel like it. It's about being the kind of person who, when they say they'll do something, actually follows through. Consider how rare this quality has become in our current culture. So many people cancel plans at the last minute, make promises they don't intend to keep, or only show up when it's convenient or beneficial for them. When you consistently do what you say you will do, you stand out, not because you're loud or demanding attention, but because you're steady and trustworthy. This reliability extends beyond keeping appointments or meeting deadlines. It also involves emotional consistency. People can count on you not to be unpredictable, overly reactive, or emotionally volatile in your interactions. You bring a stable, calming energy that others can depend on. Stoicism places tremendous emphasis on discipline and living according to your stated principles and values. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be one." Consistency and reliability represent the embodiment of this wisdom. You don't need to constantly talk about your values or principles. You live them consistently, and people observe and respect this alignment between your words and actions. Consistency also reflects genuine self-respect. When you're reliable and follow through on commitments, you're not just keeping promises to others, you're also keeping commitments to yourself. Whether it's maintaining healthy habits, working toward personal goals, or staying true to your values even when it's difficult, being consistent in how you live builds your confidence and self-respect. This inner strength and integrity become visible to others as a quiet confidence that's deeply attractive. To cultivate this essential habit, start by making and keeping small promises to yourself and others. When you say you'll do something, follow through regardless of how minor it might seem. Over time, these small acts of integrity compound into something much larger, a reputation for trustworthiness and reliability that people value enormously. Reliability also means being emotionally consistent and stable in your interactions with others. This doesn't mean you never experience difficult emotions or that you're always in a good mood. Rather, it means that people can trust you not to take your bad days out on them, not to be unpredictably reactive or moody, and not to disappear from their lives when things get challenging or complicated. Ask yourself honestly, am I someone others can truly depend on? If the answer isn't consistently yes, start building this quality gradually and intentionally. Begin by being reliable in small ways, responding to messages in a reasonable time frame, arriving when you say you will, keeping confidences that are shared with you. From there, extend that consistency into larger areas of your life and relationships. Reliability doesn't require you to be available to everyone all the time or to say yes to every request. In fact, part of being truly reliable involves knowing your own limits and being honest about what you can and cannot commit to. It's better to under-promise and over-deliver than to overcommit and disappoint people repeatedly. In a world full of distractions, shifting priorities, and fleeting commitments, being someone who is steady, dependable, and true to their word creates a lasting impression that goes far beyond momentary attraction. You become someone people admire, not because you're trying to impress them, but because your actions consistently demonstrate integrity, reliability, and genuine care for others. The true beauty of all these habits lies in how they work together to create a presence that is authentically attractive without being performative or manipulative. When you embrace your independence while remaining open to connection, practice elegant restraint while staying genuine, maintain appropriate mystery while building trust, cultivate wisdom while remaining humble, show compassion while maintaining boundaries, find joy while acknowledging life's challenges, care for yourself while serving others, develop emotional intelligence while staying authentic, and demonstrate consistency while allowing for growth, you create a presence that draws people in naturally. Silent attractiveness isn't about demanding attention, controlling others, or trying to be someone you're not. It's about becoming more fully yourself, the best version of yourself, and allowing that authentic presence to speak for itself. It's about developing qualities that make you someone others genuinely respect, trust, and want to be around, not because you're putting on a performance, but because you've cultivated genuine strength, wisdom, and character. These habits don't require you to change your fundamental personality or adopt artificial behaviors that don't feel authentic to who you are. Instead, they invite you to become more aligned with your highest potential, more conscious of the impact you have on others, and more intentional about how you move through the world. This alignment creates an authenticity that people can sense immediately, even if they can't articulate exactly what makes your presence so compelling. When you cultivate these habits consistently over time, you'll notice that you don't just enhance how others see you, you transform how you see yourself. You begin to carry yourself with a quiet assurance that comes from knowing you're living according to your values, treating others with respect and kindness, and taking responsibility for your own growth and well-being. This inner confidence creates a positive feedback loop where increased self-respect leads to more magnetic presence, which in turn reinforces your sense of worth and personal power. The most remarkable aspect of silent attractiveness is that it's rooted in genuine character development rather than superficial techniques or manipulation strategies. You're not trying to trick people into liking you or pretending to be someone you're not. Instead, you're becoming someone genuinely worth knowing, someone with depth, integrity, wisdom, and authentic care for others. Remember that developing these qualities is a lifelong journey rather than a destination you reach and then maintain effortlessly. Some days you'll embody these habits more successfully than others, and that's completely normal and expected. The goal isn't perfection, but rather consistent growth and conscious effort to become the kind of person you respect and would want to spend time with. In our noisy, attention-seeking culture, the power of quiet confidence, genuine character, and authentic presence stands out more than ever. When you focus on developing these timeless qualities, rather than chasing temporary validation or trying to keep up with constantly changing trends, you create something lasting and meaningful, not just for others, but for yourself. True attractiveness, in the end, isn't something you chase, perform, or demand from others. It's something you cultivate from within through conscious daily choices, consistent character development, and a commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. It's quiet, steady, and incredibly powerful in its ability to transform not just how others see you, but how you experience life itself. How do you feel when you walk into a room and immediately become the center of attention, not just because of what you say, but because of your mere presence? Have you ever wished to be valued more, to be recognized with the respect you deserve? If the answer is yes, you are not alone in this deeply human desire for acknowledgement and appreciation. In today's society, many of us feel undervalued and often overlooked, as if we don't truly exist or matter in the grand scheme of things. We move through our days wondering if anyone notices our contributions, our struggles, or our efforts to make a positive difference in the world around us. This feeling of invisibility, however, is not a fate you have to accept or resign yourself to. Today, we embark on a transformative journey together, one full of both promise and challenge, as we learn to use invaluable lessons from ancient Stoic philosophy to build not only a strong sense of self, but also an undeniable presence that commands genuine respect and admiration. This isn't about seeking attention for its own sake or demanding recognition through dramatic gestures or manipulative tactics. Instead, it's about cultivating sustainable thoughts, behaviors, and actions that make you not only highly regarded by others, but also significantly stronger and more confident from within. The path we're exploring together draws from principles that have stood the test of time, strategies that have helped countless individuals throughout history change not only how others perceive them, but, more importantly, how they perceive themselves. This transformation is both external and internal. It's about developing the kind of presence that naturally attracts respect, while simultaneously building the inner strength and wisdom that makes that respect genuinely deserved. Face this challenge with commitment and openness, because the journey may be difficult at times, but the rewards are profound and lasting. It's not just about creating momentary impressions or temporary shifts in how people see you. Rather, it's about building a powerful, sustainable presence that leaves a lasting impression on people's minds and hearts, creating meaningful connections and earning authentic appreciation that endures over time. The foundation of becoming someone who naturally commands respect and admiration begins with the fundamental principle of taking care of yourself. As the ancient wisdom reminds us, people who don't know how to love themselves cannot truly love others. Understanding how to care for oneself is not selfishness or narcissism, quite the opposite. The better you take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, the better equipped you become to support, encourage, and uplift others in meaningful ways. This principle represents not just practical advice for daily living, but a fundamental philosophy for living a satisfying, meaningful, and impactful life. Taking care of oneself first and foremost requires developing genuine self-awareness, taking the time and effort to understand yourself deeply, from your most basic physical needs to the deepest desires and aspirations of your soul. When you truly understand what you need to thrive and flourish, you can begin nurturing and developing yourself with clear purpose and intention. Physically, self-care means maintaining a healthy lifestyle that includes balanced nutrition, regular exercise that you enjoy, adequate sleep, and attention to your body's signals and needs. When your body is well taken care of, you not only feel healthier and more energetic, but you also naturally exude an attractiveness and vitality that draws others to appreciate and respect you more deeply. There's something undeniably magnetic about someone who radiates health, energy, and physical confidence, not in a vain or superficial way, but as a natural expression of self-respect and personal responsibility. On a mental and emotional level, self-care requires you to regularly recharge and nourish your mind and spirit. This can be accomplished through reading books that expand your understanding, practicing meditation or mindfulness that centers your thoughts, spending time in nature that restores your perspective, or engaging in personal hobbies and interests that bring you joy and fulfillment. When your mind is nourished and your spirit is refreshed, you become naturally confident and peaceful, creating an irresistible charm and presence that others find both calming and inspiring. It's crucial to remember that self-care is not a destination you reach and then maintain effortlessly. It's a journey that never truly ends, requiring ongoing attention, adjustment, and commitment. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosopher-emperors, once wisely observed, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." When you continually invest in yourself, in your physical health, mental clarity, emotional stability, and spiritual growth, you not only dramatically improve the quality of your own life, but also become a genuine source of inspiration and positive influence for those around you. This is how you naturally make others appreciate and value you deeply, not through manipulation or desperate attention-seeking, but through the authentic presence and energy that comes from someone who truly values and cares for themselves. When you demonstrate genuine self-respect and self-care, others instinctively recognize and respect those qualities, creating a positive cycle of mutual appreciation and regard. Building upon this foundation of self-care, the next crucial element in developing an undeniable presence involves cultivating calmness and composure, especially during challenging and pressure-filled situations. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, once advised that the greatest remedy for anger is delay. This seemingly simple advice contains immense power for guiding us through difficult moments and helping us respond rather than react to life's inevitable challenges and provocations. In today's fast-paced, high-stress world, where every minute seems to bring new pressures and potential triggers for negative emotions, nurturing calmness and self-control becomes more important and valuable than ever before. Consider how rare it has become to encounter someone who remains genuinely calm and composed under pressure. Such individuals stand out immediately and command instant respect from those around them. Imagine a particularly stressful workday where everything seems to be going wrong. You walk into a meeting that's already running late and are greeted with unfriendly, accusatory looks from colleagues who seem ready to blame you for the delays and problems. In that challenging moment, your natural instinct might urge you to react defensively, to make excuses, or to respond with frustration or anger. However, if you can manage to stay calm, take a deep breath, allow yourself a moment of thoughtful silence to assess the situation clearly, and then respond with grace and wisdom, your subsequent words and actions will not only help alleviate the tension in the room, but also earn genuine admiration from those around you for your ability to remain composed under pressure. This principle of embracing calm silence and thoughtful response rather than immediate reaction reflects profound wisdom found not only in Stoic philosophy, but also in spiritual traditions throughout history. The biblical phrase, "Be still and know that I am God," reflects a similar understanding that silence and stillness are not only forms of humility and respect, but also expressions of inner strength and confidence. When we embrace appropriate silence and resist the urge to fill every moment with words or reactions, we create space for genuine self-reflection and deeper understanding of ourselves and the situations we face. Nurturing calmness and self-control represents not just a component of personal self-improvement, but also a pathway to connecting more deeply with timeless spiritual and philosophical values that have guided wise individuals for millennia. It represents the art of living with grace and wisdom, and it holds the secret to earning genuine respect and affection from others. When you can demonstrate calmness and composure, even in the midst of chaos and conflict, you're not only applying ancient philosophical principles, but also opening doors to deeper respect and appreciation from those who witness your strength. The ability to remain calm under pressure signals to others that you possess something rare and valuable: emotional maturity, inner strength, and the kind of wisdom that comes from genuine self-mastery. People naturally gravitate toward those who can provide stability and peace in tumultuous times. And when you consistently demonstrate these qualities, you become someone others genuinely value and seek out. Closely related to maintaining composure is the crucial principle of properly valuing your time, one of your most precious and irreplaceable resources. Time represents an intangible asset that, once lost, can never be regained or recovered. However, most people fail to recognize that by learning to properly value and manage your time, you not only become more self-directed and intentional in every decision you make, but also naturally attract appreciation and honor from those around you who recognize the wisdom and discipline this requires. Imagine becoming a true master of time management, someone who understands the value of each moment and uses it purposefully rather than allowing it to slip away through distraction, procrastination, or aimless activity. People will not only admire your efficiency and focus, but will also seek every opportunity to learn from you, to understand your methods, and to benefit from your wisdom and example. This transformation isn't just a hopeful possibility. It's an inevitable result when you consistently apply Stoic principles to how you approach and manage your time. The proper valuation of time begins with understanding that your time is a direct reflection of your life itself. Every moment you spend is a portion of your existence that you can never recover, which means that how you choose to spend your time represents how you choose to live your life. When you truly internalize this understanding, you naturally become more selective about your commitments, more intentional about your activities, and more protective of your energy and attention. This selectivity and intentionality create a natural sense of respect and value around your presence and attention. When people know that you don't waste time on trivial matters or meaningless activities, they automatically place higher value on the time you do choose to spend with them. Your presence becomes more precious because it's given thoughtfully rather than carelessly, and your attention becomes more meaningful because people understand it's not given to just anyone or anything. Learning to value your time also means developing the courage to say no to requests, invitations, and opportunities that don't align with your values, goals, or priorities. This ability to set boundaries around your time demonstrates self-respect and personal strength that others recognize and admire. People respect those who know their own worth and aren't afraid to protect it, even when doing so requires disappointing others or missing out on potentially pleasant but ultimately unimportant activities. The Stoic approach to time management emphasizes focusing on what is truly within your control while accepting what is not. This means spending your precious time and energy on activities, relationships, and pursuits that you can actually influence and improve, rather than worrying about or trying to control external circumstances beyond your reach. When others observe this focused, purposeful approach to life, they naturally develop respect for your wisdom and self-discipline. Moreover, when you demonstrate that you value your own time, you also show others that you respect and value their time as well. This mutual respect creates a foundation for deeper, more meaningful relationships built on consideration and genuine care rather than casual or thoughtless interaction. People appreciate those who are punctual, prepared, and present when they commit their time, because it demonstrates respect for everyone involved. The practice of active listening represents another powerful strategy for building genuine respect and appreciation from others. In our increasingly distracted and self-focused world, the ability to truly listen, not just to wait for your turn to speak, but to genuinely understand and connect with what others are sharing, has become an extraordinarily rare and valuable skill. Consider a conversation with a friend who is sharing a personal struggle or challenge they're facing. Instead of glancing at your phone, thinking about your own response, or mentally rehearsing what you want to say next, you choose to remain completely present and focused on their words, their emotions, and their experience. You ask thoughtful, constructive questions that show you're not just listening, but also working to understand the deeper significance and weight of what they're sharing with you. The result of this genuine attention and care extends far beyond the immediate conversation. You not only help your friend feel truly heard and understood, something increasingly rare in our distracted culture, but you also establish a deep, meaningful connection that strengthens your relationship and builds lasting trust and appreciation. In that moment of authentic listening, you become a safe harbor for their thoughts and emotions, a person they can trust with their vulnerabilities and concerns. Active listening represents far more than just a social skill or communication technique. It's an essential component of becoming a fulfilled and emotionally mature human being, perfectly aligned with Stoic principles of wisdom and virtue. It's about approaching every conversation as a genuine opportunity to learn, not just about others, but also about yourself, life, and the human experience in general. When you truly listen with full attention and genuine care, you're practicing a form of humility that demonstrates your willingness to open yourself to others' experiences, emotions, and perspectives. This openness and receptivity signal to others that you value them as individuals and respect their thoughts and feelings enough to give them your complete attention, something that has become precious and rare in our modern world. The practice of active listening requires mastering your own emotions, thoughts, and impulses during conversations. When you engage in dialogue with others, remind yourself that your primary goal should be to understand rather than to respond with your own stories, advice, or opinions. This shift in focus from self-expression to genuine understanding transforms the quality of your interactions and the depth of your relationships. Next, practice giving your complete attention not just to the words being spoken, but also to the body language, facial expressions, and emotional undertones that often convey more meaning than words alone. Learn to observe and respond to what isn't being said directly, showing that you're attuned to the full spectrum of human communication and expression. Finally, understand that sometimes silence can be more powerful and meaningful than words. Don't feel compelled to fill every pause with commentary or advice. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer someone is simply your presence and attention, allowing them to process their thoughts and feelings without pressure to perform or explain themselves further. Throughout history, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca emphasized the fundamental importance of listening, not just to others, but also to oneself and to the deeper wisdom that emerges from quiet reflection and attention. They understood listening as an integral part of living a moral, meaningful, and connected life. When you truly listen to others, you're not just receiving information or being polite. You're expanding your mind and heart to embrace life's lessons from every conversation and human encounter. The commitment to lifelong learning represents another cornerstone of building lasting respect and admiration from others. Seneca reminds us with timeless wisdom, as long as you live, keep learning how to live. This eternal truth underscores the critical importance of continuous self-improvement, adaptation, and growth throughout our entire lives, regardless of our age, experience, or current level of knowledge and skill. In the journey of self-discipline and personal betterment, embracing a genuine spirit of lifelong learning isn't just helpful advice. It's a fundamental principle for living a meaningful life and a direct path toward earning appreciation and honor from those around you. When we commit ourselves to endless learning and growth, we not only continuously enhance our knowledge and abilities, but also cultivate a profound understanding of the world, humanity, and our place within the larger tapestry of existence. This commitment to ongoing learning and development helps us adjust our behavior, attitudes, and perspectives to be more harmonious with nature, society, and the deeper principles that govern meaningful existence. In the process, we naturally increase our value in the eyes of others, while also fulfilling our responsibility to contribute positively to the world around us. The noble duty of education, the art of imparting knowledge, stimulating thought, and inspiring growth in others, plays a crucial role in this process of lifelong learning. By sharing our knowledge, experiences, insights, and hard-won wisdom with others, we not only contribute to their development and success, but also affirm our own worth and value as contributing members of society. Each lesson we teach, each story we share, each piece of guidance we offer becomes a testament to our deep understanding and thoughtful consideration of life's complexities and opportunities. However, genuine lifelong learning encompasses much more than simply accumulating facts, skills, or credentials. It represents a comprehensive process of character development, emotional maturation, and spiritual growth that includes developing patience, gratitude, acceptance, resilience, and wisdom. When faced with failures, setbacks, and difficulties, which are inevitable parts of any meaningful life, adherents of Stoic philosophy learn to perceive challenges from multiple perspectives, turning every obstacle into an opportunity for growth, learning, and personal development. By embracing the noble responsibility of education and committing ourselves to a lifetime of learning and growth, we not only become more valuable and respected in the eyes of those around us, but also create positive ripple effects that extend far beyond our immediate circle of influence. This commitment makes others not only appreciate our knowledge and wisdom, but also seek out our presence, guidance, and perspective in their own lives and challenges. Becoming valuable and respected in the eyes of others doesn't come from demonstrating raw power, authority, or superiority over others. Instead, it emerges naturally from expanding our souls, sharing knowledge generously, and developing genuine understanding and empathy for the human experience. We earn respect and affection from those around us through our commitment to growth, learning, and contribution rather than through intimidation, manipulation, or self-promotion. This process of earning genuine respect and appreciation isn't quick, easy, or guaranteed. It requires tremendous perseverance, courage to face our fears and failures honestly, and a sincere desire to become better every day. When we consistently take time to learn, grow, and develop ourselves, we not only enrich our own knowledge and capabilities, but also expand our capacity for empathy, understanding, and positive impact on others. The foundation of all meaningful relationships and lasting respect lies in authenticity, being genuinely yourself rather than trying to be who you think others want you to be. As Epictetus wisely taught, "If you wish to be a writer, write." This simple yet profound advice emphasizes the importance of doing what reflects who you truly are, rather than what you think will impress others or gain external approval. Authenticity isn't just a strategy for social success. It's a fundamental way of living that helps us not only value ourselves appropriately, but also enables others to appreciate our true worth and unique contributions. Consider the story of someone who spent years trying to create work that met market demands rather than expressing their genuine passion and unique perspective. While this approach might have brought temporary financial success, it ultimately left them feeling empty, disconnected from their true calling, and increasingly unable to produce work that felt meaningful or fulfilling. The transformation begins when we decide to focus on projects, relationships, and activities that reflect our authentic values, interests, and perspectives, rather than what we think others expect from us. Initially, we might worry that people won't accept or appreciate our true selves, but the opposite usually happens. When we have the courage to be genuinely ourselves, our work, relationships, and contributions begin to garner attention and respect for their authenticity, freshness, and uniqueness. This demonstrates the profound power of authenticity in action. When we dare to live true to ourselves rather than according to external expectations or pressures, we not only attract like-minded individuals who appreciate our genuine nature, but also create lasting impressions that go far deeper than superficial conformity ever could. Authenticity reveals our true essence and allows us to connect with others on a much deeper, more meaningful level, creating an environment where appreciation and respect are given freely rather than earned through performance or pretense. Remember that in a world where truth is often undervalued and superficiality is easily accepted and rewarded, authenticity becomes your most valuable asset. It not only makes you unique and irreplaceable, but also creates a natural magnetism that draws people toward your genuine presence and perspective. By embracing and expressing your authenticity consistently, you convey a powerful message about personal worth while also contributing to creating a better world where everyone is respected and valued for their true selves rather than for masks they wear or roles they play. Maintaining an appropriate sense of mystery represents another sophisticated strategy for building intrigue and respect. Within each of us lies something deep and private that isn't easily shared with others or revealed through casual interaction. When we keep certain parts of ourselves reserved for deeper relationships and more meaningful connections, we not only protect our intrinsic value, but also create natural curiosity and an irresistible allure that draws others toward us. This selective sharing doesn't mean being secretive, manipulative, or dishonest. Rather, it means understanding that not every thought, experience, or aspect of your personality needs to be immediately available to everyone you meet. There's profound wisdom in knowing when to share openly and when to maintain appropriate privacy, allowing relationships to deepen gradually through mutual trust and earned intimacy. When encountering new people, a gentle sense of mystery often arouses natural curiosity and a desire to learn more about who you are beneath the surface. This represents not just a social phenomenon, but a fundamental aspect of human nature. We are naturally drawn to explore and understand what isn't immediately obvious or available to us. This curiosity forms one of the foundations of meaningful relationships and ongoing interest between people. Think of yourself as someone with depth and layers, where each interaction reveals fresh insights and perspectives, rather than everything being available all at once. Natural curiosity leads others on a journey of discovery, turning every conversation into an exciting opportunity to learn something new about you. You become not just someone they enjoy talking to, but a source of ongoing inspiration and intrigue, prompting others to wonder what else they might learn from continued interaction with you. In life, fostering appreciation through knowledge sharing represents a delicate balance between openness and restraint. It's not just about accumulating information or experiences. It's about sharing wisdom and understanding appropriately while maintaining enough privacy to preserve the natural human desire for discovery and deeper connection. When you open yourself to share life's lessons selectively and thoughtfully, you invite others into your life in a way that fosters meaningful and profound relationships. This thoughtful sharing enriches not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. The natural respect you receive from this balanced approach isn't something that can be bought, demanded, or faked. It's the organic result of an ongoing process of expanding your knowledge and understanding while sharing it wisely and appropriately. The practice of discretion in what you share and with whom represents another crucial element of building lasting respect and maintaining personal power. In today's world of social media and constant connectivity, we're often encouraged to broadcast every detail of our lives, from major achievements to minor daily experiences and everything in between. However, there's immense value in carefully choosing what we share and being thoughtful about our audience and timing. Imagine yourself at a social or professional event, feeling the natural impulse to share every aspect of your personal life, recent experiences, or future plans. In moments like these, remember the tremendous power that comes from thoughtful restraint and selective sharing. This isn't about being secretive or dishonest. It's about respecting yourself and safeguarding your mental and emotional space from unnecessary exposure or potential negative consequences. Consider the example of a successful entrepreneur facing a crucial decision about whether to publicly announce an upcoming project. The market they operated in was highly competitive, and information represented a valuable strategic asset. In that moment, they recalled advice from the philosopher Seneca. The wise person lacks nothing but needs many things, whereas the fool needs nothing because they don't know how to use anything, yet lacks everything. Instead of divulging every detail of the project to gain attention or validation, they decided to keep plans private, sharing information only with a small group of trusted partners and employees who needed to know for legitimate business reasons. The result was that the project launched without interference, copying, or competition from rivals who might have used advanced knowledge to their advantage, creating significant competitive benefits that wouldn't have been possible with premature disclosure. This example demonstrates how practicing discretion isn't just a lifestyle choice. It's also a strategic approach to protecting your interests and maintaining your ability to achieve your goals effectively. With every decision about what to share, ask yourself whether this information serves your long-term interests and whether sharing it will build genuine trust and respect from others who matter to your success and well-being. If the answer is uncertain, it may be wise to keep the information private, remembering that discretion represents a form of strength and wisdom. Through thoughtful restraint, we not only protect ourselves from unnecessary risks and complications, but also build a strong personal reputation that makes others naturally inclined to respect our judgment and value our perspectives. The art of gracefully receiving compliments, help, and kindness from others represents another often overlooked aspect of building meaningful relationships and earning lasting respect. Many people struggle with accepting positive recognition or assistance, either due to false modesty, discomfort with attention, or misguided beliefs about independence and self-reliance. However, learning to receive gracefully is just as important as learning to give generously. Embracing the art of receiving with grace has the potential to significantly enrich our emotional and social lives while contributing to a culture of generosity, solidarity, and mutual support. This practice aligns with several core principles that strengthen both individual character and community bonds. First is acknowledging our natural interdependence with others and recognizing that complete self-sufficiency and excessive pride can isolate us from the rich tapestry of community support, friendship, and mutual assistance that makes life more meaningful and enjoyable. We are inherently social beings who thrive through connection and mutual support rather than through isolation and stubborn independence. Second is cultivating genuine gratitude by accepting kindness and recognition. We nurture grateful hearts that recognize the generosity of others and appreciate the various blessings we receive, whether they are material, emotional, spiritual, or professional in nature. This gratitude creates positive cycles of appreciation and goodwill that benefit everyone involved. Third is nurturing authentic humility through the practice of receiving gracefully. This teaches us that we are not completely self-sufficient and that wisdom often lies in acknowledging our limitations, needs, and areas where we can benefit from others' knowledge, assistance, or support. This humility makes us more relatable and approachable to others. Fourth is enhancing community bonds and relationships. When we open ourselves to receiving from others, we strengthen the connections that bind us together, demonstrating that everyone can freely express their needs, vulnerabilities, and desires to help without fear of rejection or judgment. This mutual vulnerability and support form the foundation for deep trust and meaningful relationships. Fifth is encouraging a generous spirit in others. In a beautiful cycle of reciprocity, accepting gracefully encourages others to open their hearts to giving and sharing, creating an environment where generosity, kindness, and mutual support flourish naturally. To truly embrace the art of graceful receiving, you can start with small daily actions that build your comfort and skill over time. Acknowledge compliments with a simple, sincere thank you, rather than deflecting or minimizing the recognition, thereby honoring the giver's intent and kindness. Seek help when you genuinely need it, viewing these requests as opportunities to deepen connections and show trust in others, rather than as signs of weakness or failure. Accept constructive criticism and feedback with an open heart and mind, recognizing it as a valuable gift for personal growth and improvement, rather than as an attack on your character or abilities. Publicly express gratitude for acts of kindness, no matter how small they might seem, showing others that their efforts to help and support are noticed and appreciated. Through these practices, we not only enrich our own lives and relationships, but also contribute to creating a culture of generosity, mutual support, and genuine community connection. Embracing the art of receiving gracefully, therefore, represents not a sign of weakness or dependence, but rather a profound expression of strength, resilience, emotional maturity, and recognition of our shared humanity. The final and perhaps most crucial strategy for building undeniable presence and earning lasting respect involves fostering resilience and endurance in the face of life's inevitable challenges and setbacks. Stoic philosophy teaches us fundamental wisdom in distinguishing between what is within our control and what lies beyond our influence or power to change. True resilience begins with accepting that many external factors, including other people's opinions, actions, and decisions, as well as unforeseen events and circumstances, are completely beyond our direct control or influence. This acceptance isn't a form of resignation, passivity, or giving up on our goals and dreams. Instead, it represents a strong, strategic stance of directing our precious energy and effort toward the things we can actually control, our own actions, thoughts, reactions, and choices. When you embody this principle consistently, you naturally exude a calm confidence and inner strength that draws people toward you like a magnet. Others see you not as someone who is easily swayed or knocked off course by external circumstances, but as a steadfast, reliable presence who remains centered and purposeful even when storms rage around you. Resilience is born through repeatedly facing obstacles, challenges, and discomfort while persisting through difficulties rather than avoiding or surrendering to them. It's about developing the perspective and mental strength to view challenges not as insurmountable walls or personal attacks, but as opportunities for growth, learning, and character development. Stoic exercises such as voluntary hardship, deliberate exposure to minor discomforts, and regular reflection on adversity serve not just as tests of character, but as practical tools for strengthening mental fortitude and emotional resilience. When you share your stories of perseverance, growth through difficulty, and lessons learned from setbacks, you naturally inspire others and provide them with hope and practical examples of human resilience. You become a beacon of possibility and evidence of the indomitable human spirit's capacity for growth and adaptation. People naturally gravitate toward those who exhibit such qualities of strength and wisdom, seeing them as valuable companions, trusted leaders, and friends worth having during both good times and challenging periods. Stoicism offers a transformative perspective that reframes difficulties not merely as burdens to be endured, but as valuable means for personal development and character building. This fundamental shift in perspective transforms our entire outlook on life and how we approach challenges. What once seemed like insurmountable mountains of difficulty now become stepping stones toward greater wisdom, strength, and capability. When you consistently demonstrate this resilient mindset and share this empowering perspective with others, people begin to seek your advice, wisdom, and presence. They're drawn not only to the strength and stability you display, but also to the hopeful vision you embody, a vision that transforms adversity into advantage and sees opportunity within every challenge. This journey of building undeniable presence through Stoic principles represents more than just a collection of strategies or techniques. It's a comprehensive approach to living that transforms both how others see you and how you see yourself. The respect and appreciation you earn through these practices isn't superficial or temporary. It's based on genuine character development, authentic growth, and real value that you bring to every relationship and interaction. Remember that everyone's journey is unique, and the application of these principles will look different for each person based on their circumstances, personality, and goals. The key is consistent practice, patient persistence, and a genuine commitment to becoming the kind of person you yourself would respect and admire. As you continue on this path of growth and development, you'll discover that the external recognition and respect you receive from others, while gratifying, becomes secondary to the internal satisfaction and confidence that comes from living according to your highest values and principles. This internal transformation creates a positive cycle where increased self-respect leads to greater presence and influence, which in turn reinforces your sense of worth and capability. The ultimate goal isn't to manipulate others into appreciating you or to seek validation for its own sake. Instead, it's to become someone genuinely worthy of respect and appreciation. Someone who contributes positively to the world, treats others with dignity and kindness, and embodies the timeless virtues that make human relationships meaningful and society better for everyone.